Hey everybody, Roar the Lions UK, Matt and Ash, and we may have some others joining us throughout, but we're just getting set up here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Just as I was saying to you, just finishing off the preview article for tomorrow. The new improved, not as long as an essay preview articles for people who perhaps are getting a bit fed up of having to sit through 20 minutes of stats. It's a bit shorter this time and a bit more opiniony, so you can get a bit more out of it, hopefully.
I was quite enjoying my doctorate in sports journalism that you were.
Well, there's still going to be the stats in there, but it's just I know I had feedback from some people throughout the year and a bit. I've done it where it was just a bit too long, so I've just tried to condense it a bit for you guys, so you're not having to sit through. But if you ever want any, you know what I'm like. If you ever want any stats, I'm happy to send them along to people, which is why you should join our Discord.
Hey, here we go. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? There's loads of preview articles out there. There's loads of basic bitch stuff out there if you want to go and get it. Yours is not that, and I think that's fine. I mean, that is who we are. We are not for the basics, you know? Like, if you want that, then there's Locked On Lions. And...
I haven't read much of their stuff, so I can't comment.
Oh, well, I kind of meant podcast size anyway.
Podcast. Oh, yeah.
Because the whole thing with that is 30 minutes or less, isn't it? And it's like...
Oh, yeah, true, yeah.
And when 10, 15 minutes of it are adverts, how much content are you actually getting anyway? How deep, how skin deep do you want to be? And I also just don't like him anyway.
Fair. Well, I was going to say, with us, obviously, we can waffle on for hours.
If in a Slack chat for a rival podcast, they have a word alert for your name, which basically calls you a boring shit person, you know you're not great at your job.
Fair. I'm glad I haven't got to that stage yet.
No, we're not there yet, but well, who knows? We might be one day.
Who knows?
Hey everybody in the chat. Hey to Carlton Wood, Mile Marker, and Miss Harley Quinn, who's changed her name back to Miss Harley Quinn, because it was Miss Natasha before, but hey. Brent DeWitt is in there, Det Fan Man, Frog Crop, Dan McGuinness, and then in Twitch as well, Dan Pask, and Big Aries 70. If you're in the chat and you haven't said hi and you want to shout out, come and say hello. Dan asks, how are you all? I mean, it's Friday and I'm not dead, so it's a good day.
Exactly, yeah. We've survived another week of work. Who knows if we can survive Sunday now? That's the next big milestone to get past.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you got a feel for the F1 drivers on the track this weekend.
Oh, God, yeah.
God forbid they go over any manhole covers. Jesus Christ.
Anything... Yeah, my brother's a big... Well, I'm kind of big, but my brother who literally is applying to do an internship at an F1 team. He's massive. Yeah, he's really big into it. And he texts me, he's like, this just shows that Las Vegas should not have gone ahead.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true, but you need a smooth track.
Yeah, but that is because the whole parade thing for the drivers, it's just all very... This is a publicity stunt for money rather than an actual F1 race. That's why he's against those kind of things. He likes Baku, for example, it's the street circuit, but because this just seems they couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery with this one right now.
Okay, sure, but you could label all of the Qatari, Saudi, Bahraini, all of those sorts of ones like that too, because no one goes. They've spent loads of money on it, and that's a spectacle too. So
true, but they're on actual racetracks. That's for the most part, aren't they? Except for the only one that isn't is, I think Singapore's also.
Singapore's a street circuit, yeah. But I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like Las Vegas are perfectly happy to make big adjustments to make it work, and they've just dropped the ball because they've overlooked something pretty big. But you know, I'm sure they'll sort it out pretty quickly.
I know it's hurt Carlos because obviously he's getting that grid penalty for having to use his third energy store this season.
Yeah, and he might have got through. Yeah, he might have got through the rest of the season otherwise, because there's only one more race after this, and then you're done.
A couple more. I think there's. This is why I just had Kieran here, my brother, because he knows this off by heart. Yeah, just this, and then Abu Dhabi. Yes, they've got one more race. Yeah, he would.
Yeah, so he would have been fine, but oh well. I can't believe they didn't give him a waiver.
Exactly.
But I guess the argument is everyone's on track, so...
Yeah, but he wasn't the only one. Ocon also had some damage, just wasn't as bad. But again, it's Ocon. Who cares?
I mean, I just think that they've ruined Las Vegas. All of the stuff about removing the water out the fountains, putting stands up,
Yeah,
even where there isn't track, they put stands up. They've removed some of the view from like the bridges and stuff, and it's like, I get it, but part of the fun of it is going to be seeing Vegas in all its splendor while there are cars going around.
yeah,
But if it's all looking like a construction site, so you block off the view from the people who haven't paid, then the TV spectacle of it is shit.
exactly. Like imagine with the famous fountains, those being timed up with the lights.
Yeah.
That would have been a great thing to. But yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's a great idea, I think, executed kind of poorly. But there we go.
yeah, hopefully, because I think they've signed a 5-year deal for it. By the time we get to like year 3, 4, they would have got everything sorted, and it will be a good race.
I've just said to Steve, feeling tired, question mark. See whether that baits him into coming. I think, shall we crack on with this?
Yeah.
So Ant is at work. He should technically finish at 10:30. And then he might be getting a cab back, and he might be with us quickly, but he said he's had a really shit day, so he might not want to be on, and it depends.
That's
so we'll just kind of run with it and see what happens. Right, are you ready to go?
Of course, yeah.
Right, summary is going, and we are recording now.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 232, Strawberry Fields. My name, is Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How you doing, man?
Well, you've just made my day with that little vocal slip up there, so I'm doing great now.
Good. We may be interrupted in the show by some of our other guys coming on a little bit later, so watch out for them if they do. We are doing Bears at Lions preview right now. We got some news to start with, and there's a little bit actually to go through for the first time in a little while, but we are going to go through our preamble as we always do, starting with our Discord channel. You really need to come and join us there as the Lions get closer and closer to the postseason. I feel it becoming a bigger and better place. So come and join us there for some great Lions chat all week long. College Football Podcast. It is going to air on YouTube after this episode. So if you are live in YouTube and Twitch right now, I'm going to premiere it in YouTube as soon as we finish. So if you saw the first half an hour and then obviously they had their problems and you want to see the rest, you'll be able to do that. For those of you who like watching it on the video, but you have listened to this on the audio, it will be up by the time you listen to this. So that will be there soon. Obviously, they previewed week 12 and they looked back at week 11. Please don't forget to like the show, sub to the podcast, all of that good stuff. You know what to do. And add Lions Nation Yacht on their Facebook group too. That would really help us out. And we're a Twitch affiliate, YouTube monetized, and we have a tip jar in the YouTube description down below. If you're enjoying what you're listening to and you want to show some love that way, we'd much appreciate that. There's also a feedback form too. If you've got any thoughts on how to improve the show, then you can go into a Google form in that description and let us know. Final bit is that our merch store has opened. I'll put a link in the chat for that too. It's a great way to support the show without just tipping us or doing a super chat or something like that. At least you get something tangible back for your support. We make a small profit off of it, but the stuff itself is actually really quite nice. We actually got all of the members of the team some stuff out, except for Tom, who still needs to make it on order. But it's some good stuff. So if Tom can get his Arslan gear, then we'll all have some, which is great. Right, let's get on with the news. And there's a lot of roster stuff to get through, Ash, so we'll do this right now. Halapoulivaati Vaitai has gone to injured reserve, and Dan Campbell says it's unlikely that he plays again this season. Obviously, with the restructure, he took a pay cut to stay rather than being cut at the start of the season. He was a starter at the start of the season. Through injury, kind of lost his job to Graham, and then Graham has just outplayed him, really, so he was only a backup. But it's a sad way, really, to see his Lions career and potentially career finish.
Exactly, yeah. It was a slight misuse of words there to say backup, because that's the problem he had. His back was just shot again. That's what ruled him out all of last season. Unfortunately, in his recovery from the knee injury that took him out initially. He really aggravated it, and it was just too much for him. I remember I kept saying when he came back, and we watched him against I think it was the Ravens, where he just couldn't go side to side because of his back. He could go back and forth against those pass drops, but as soon as someone put a rush move on him and tried to get past him, he just couldn't bend with them, and they got past him. So yeah, it's just unfortunately one of those where because of that he couldn't play, obviously start, and he was emergency backup, but he also couldn't even play special teams. It's just better for his long-term health to go to IR, accept the money, run out his contracts, and hopefully get fit and maybe take a backup role somewhere or a low-level starting role where he's close. They've got a rookie in, and he's as soon as that rookie's perhaps come through, then he cedes the role. Kind of like what he's done with Penne, just be that sort of veteran mentorship kind of thing to help a rookie come in. That's probably the best he can hope for. But obviously, for his long-term health, and I hate saying it, I do kind of hope he retires because walk away while you still can kind of thing. You've made a lot of money. You've lost Detroit Lions fans for the most part. There's obviously going to be some that will always hate him for the big contract he signed with us initially, but for the most part, us Lion fans will applaud him out the door and say thank you for your service. We hope you all the best in the future, because for the 2 years, 2.5 years he's been with us with the Dan Campbell regime, he's been a really damn good right guard. And he's obviously helped Saul acclimatise from being one of the youngest draft picks on the offensive line in NFL history, I believe. Like, he's a year younger than me, and that's saying something, to arguably the best right tackle in this league. So much thanks to Hal for the role he's played in that.
Just had a load of alerts come through, but they're all old, which is really weird, so I'm just going to turn them off. Anyway, yeah, I echo your sentiments. I think it would be best for him to retire gracefully with his health. He's not been worth the money. There's no doubt about the fact that he was overpriced when he came here. The decision at the time looked expensive for what was a career swing tackle to that point. And he showed that he could play both tackles pretty well. But he was never a guard. He was always a tackle at Philadelphia. And we seemed to pay him a lot for what was a career backup at that time. And then, he started in a Super Bowl win. How about a 17-game season? And then he came in, and his attitude was brilliant. And he got his head down, went to work, was a good player for us when he was on the field. And his health is his health. I don't think you can criminalise him for Bob Quinn's sins. It's not on him. And whenever he gets in front of the camera, you can clearly see how committed he is, how much he wanted to be here and make a success of himself and of his teammates. He cared. He really cared. And I appreciate that sentiment. So, wish him all the best. But there we go. All right, we'll move on. And another couple of people not on the roster anymore, at least on the practice squad, with running back Vaitai Zigbo and cornerback Anthony Everett released. In their place, we have signed to the practice squad Michael Schofield, the offensive lineman, cornerback Kindle Vildor, and, I guess somewhat controversially by the way a lot of people reacted, Bruce Irvin to the practice squad. Dan Campbell has confirmed that Irvin won't be elevated this week because he's in shape, but not in football shape. Ash. Bit of a surprising one. He hasn't played since last year when he was with the Seahawks, got 3.5 sacks from memory. His sack totals, I don't think, have ever gone over 10 in a year, so he's not been ever a guy that's kind of broken out in their way, but part of the Legion of Boom at Seattle. Fearsome defense, obviously. He played very well. He's been a career very good player, but he's 36, I think, and it's an interesting one. It's only the practice squad, right?
For now. But yeah, you make a valid point with the whole 36 thing. He instantly becomes the oldest player on our roster/practice squad by 3 years. Well, actually, no, he was until McQuaid was elevated, because I think McQuaid is 38, so he's the second oldest player, I do believe. But it just shows I love the Schofield and Vildor signings. As much as Zigbo served us well, did what he needs to do. If we needed 4 yards, he got us 4 yards. If we needed 6 yards, he got us 4 yards. Great special teamer, decent back, but we've got Jamar healthy now in the practice squad. Monty's back healthy. kind of services no longer needed. We've just released him to give him a chance to maybe hit somewhere else where he can have a better opportunity. And then Ava was just a practice squad signing, nothing to it. So now we've signed Irvin, played in a load of playoffs, veteran guy. Hopefully can have a sort of, if you remember when we signed Dwight Freeney in 2016 for the last couple of games when he was cut by the Colts, can have that kind of impact where comes in, maybe shows Pascal, Kamish, Charles Harris, some of these just pass rushing moves. Because remember the last game Freeney played for us, Ziggy Ansah pulled off Freeney's signature spin move and ran right over to Freeney on the sidelines and hugged him afterwards. If you can have that kind of impact for like a Pascal, who obviously I want to have a really big impact because I was kind of high of him coming out, I'll be very happy for it. But then with Schofield and Vildor, veteran guys who've played a lot of games, admittedly both played for the Bears last year, so maybe that kind of shows a lot about their talent right now. But they're guys who've started a lot of games in this league, and if we need to call on them in a pinch come the playoffs or week 18 or something because of injuries, they're reliable options. That's what we're kind of going for now. The regime's sort of is starting to warm to the fact that, yeah, okay, we need veteran guys we can count on because we might be going a bit further than people may have expected us to at the start of this season. Like some people might have seen us as winning the NFC North, but making the wild card and then going one and done. I can see us at least making the divisional round right now, and perhaps these moves shifting off sort of younger players for better, more consistent, reliable veteran options kind of shows that maybe the regime's buying that as well.
Just to qualify, Jake McQuaid signed to the 53-man squad from the practice squad. We didn't have a long snapper on the 53. Clear that one needed to go up eventually. Still had an elevation to spare, but they just decided to do it and get him paid, which is fair enough. McQuaid is 35. So Bruce Irvin is still the oldest there, as Anne is coming in. And the final bit of news is that Dan Campbell reveals that James Houston may not return to the Lions until late December with his fractured ankle on a 97.1 appearance, although he was videoed working out after practice today, and I mean, the ankle seemed okay. I mean, he was putting good amounts of pressure on it. Maybe he's not in football shape yet, but he's on the way.
Yeah, which is hopefully a good thing because we kind of need his services right now. Like, I can't remember who it was, but one of the journalists pointed out why, because someone tweeted they're tweeting the video like, why is everyone so fussed? We need his kind of player right now. He's a speed rusher. And right now, yes, we're getting all these pressures. They're not really converting to sacks. We're allowing QBs one of the the longest time to throws in the pocket. We have one of the lowest time to sacks in the league in terms of length and that. We need someone who can clean up, and that's what Houston did. He was an elite speed rusher. Maybe, okay, yeah, as I said in the preseason, might need to work a bit on his run defense and such to maybe get a more consistent role. But when it comes to sort of third and longs, he was elite on them. Like, we just have to remember his debut against proper debut against the Bills, where he just did the Mario dip, passed to tackle a couple of times and sacked Josh Allen. And that's kind of what we need right now. And that's why all the fans are calling for him. So seeing him working out after practice today is a little revitalization to the fan base, because we're like, maybe he can come back. And when it comes to the playoffs, when we're in a third and long against a team, we need someone to get a sack to seal the game. He could be that guy for us.
Yeah, because we all seem to have edge rushers in a particular mold. Charles Harris is not a speed rusher. I mean, he runs a 4.8 40. He is not a fast guy. Romeo Okwara is not a fast guy. Julian's the only one who can really do it, apart from Houston. So hopefully he can come back earlier than that. But Anne, did you see that from Dan Campbell saying that Houston may not come back until after Christmas, just after Christmas? And it's like, but we've just seen him working out, and he looks okay. We need him.
Just lulling everyone into a false sense of security. No, he's not back till December. No, but he had a serious injury. And ankles, especially with what he does, his ankles are pretty critical. So, as you've said, there's one thing putting pressure on it and running around the field. There's another bending it about 90 degrees around the left tackle, putting pressure on it, trying to bring down a 200-pound quarterback. So, I can understand why they're taking it cautionary with him. And if you say that and he's back sooner, then great. But if you say start of December and he's not there till the end of December, then they're like, well, why did you say that? So I think with injuries, you're always more on the longer side, so that you're just covering all your bases. Really, you can only get a good outcome if he comes back early.
And we've obviously made all of these moves that you just missed out on chatting about. But just to revert back to that, obviously Vaitai to IR, you had a lot of say on Twitter about that, which I thought was really nice. And then Bruce Irvin being signed to the practice squad. Any thoughts on those two moves?
I mean, Bruce, guy who's done it in the league forever and a day. Our veterans are not stepping up doing the job, so maybe we need another veteran who's going to come in and step up and do the job. It doesn't hurt to have him there to remind the guys on the main roster that 4.5 sacks between the lot of you not named Aiden Hutchinson is not an acceptable statistic for 10 weeks into a season. We need more from you. You're not doing well enough. And this guy who's been there, done everything, think he's won a Super Bowl as well. It's like he's sat there, he's still hungry, and he's after your job. So I think it's good to have someone like that sort of sitting there waiting, because if you have another week or two of all these ineffective performances, I'm ready to start jettisoning these guys and getting ready for the future, get the roster spots available, start deciding what you're going to do in free agency and the draft in regards to it, and make progress, because, it's just 4.5 sacks between, 6 guys. We said Edge was 7 deep coming into this season, and we were quite confident that we were going to be really good in that department, and I mean, even Hutch isn't getting the finish side. I know he's playing really well, but no one's helping him. And we need that more than anything, which is why missing Houston's so bad. Because, as you guys were saying when I first came on, it's the speed aspect. There's no one as quick as him and who can bend as much as him around there. And that puts a lot of pressure on an offensive line. And when you don't have that, when you have too many of the same guys like we have, it's easier to deal with. So I like the moves that we've made. Bring him in. He's a vet guy who knows what he's done. And they're not going to bring in a scrub who's collecting a paycheck. I think he's still got something to prove. So, yeah, you've got to keep wheeling and dealing. You've got to keep finding ways. And, we need help at edge. And Brad's gone out and done that. So great for him. For Hal, it's just disappointing. I mean, I'm pretty sure 2 years ago I was not on Hal's side because I was a big Tyrell Crosby fan. So that kind of almost put me at odds with Hal, given I wanted Tyrell to have the right tackle position. And, he won me over completely with how he came about and did his business. Tenney said how much he's helped in his development, and you can't deny how much he's helped this team. And to see him have this injury, back injuries is just no pun intended, a backbreaker for a lineman. It's just so hard to come back from, because you're using your back every single play. You are putting so much pressure on it, and it's a really hard injury to come back from. So I'm disappointed. I hope there is a future where he can spend the rest of the season recovering, the entirety of the off-season recovering. He's got nearly a year now at this point. Get him into some sort of shape and bring him in on a vetmin deal, or hell, even a practice squad place you're probably sneaking by at this point, and have him around as depth on a much cheaper deal if you can. But if not, maybe coaching. I don't know. But I just wish him best wherever he goes. I do. He's overcome a lot of initial skepticism because of that in contract Quinn gave him, which you can't blame the player for. Of course he's going to sign that deal, but yeah, it's disappointing for him.
Definitely is. Right, let's get on to the Bears preview. And the Bears come into this game last in the NFC North at 3-7. Their expected wins per Pro Football Reference is 3.7. Their season so far, well, they didn't start out the best, with the losses against Green Bay, at Tampa Bay, and at Kansas City, as well as at home to Denver. Got on the board with a win at Washington, but then a loss against Minnesota, a win against Las Vegas, losses against the Chargers and the Saints, and then a win at home most recently against the number 1 seeded Carolina Panthers. Seeded? Draft position? That's what I meant. Anyway, very different things, those two. The betting for this game has come in significantly with the news that Buggs and Jackson are out and Fields and Herbert are back. So this game, just 24 hours ago, was a 9-point spread in favour of the Lions. It is now 7.5 and is coming in. The Bears are 16-5. The Lions are 4-1 on. That puts the Lions' estimated win percentage at about 80% with those odds. The over-under is 48 points. As I mentioned, Bugs and Jackson out. They did not practice all week. For the Bears, Noah Sewell is out, and therefore you will not get all of those three brothers playing in this game, unfortunately. Edmonds, Sanborn, and Foreman are all questionable, so that is a big potential loss for the Bears. With no Sewell and Sanborn and Edmonds questionable, their linebacker core in the interior is looking particularly thin. I mentioned Herbert is back. He was the only notable player on injured reserve for the Bears. I'm going to go into the depth chart and the starters in just a minute, but boys, does that feel kind of like a fair line in it coming in because of those things? Ash, we were talking about the news off the air about Fields and Herbert being activated. Do you think Herbert's a bigger deal than Fields?
Yep, for me, yeah, personally, because Fields, yeah, he can run all day. Good. Gives the Bears account a couple of clips to tweet later on in the week. Passing wise doesn't really hurt us. Herbert, however, with some of the, I know me and Matt were going through some of the premium stats from PFF and that. According to some of them, he's been really damn good this year. Like his top 10 for backs have had at least 20 carries in like yards after contact, breakaway, run rates, all these premium stats. So yeah, he's not really getting loads of carries. He's getting about between 5 and 10 a game, but he's really making use of those. So someone who can hit the second level, break off those big runs for me is bigger than someone who can just run around from pressure and then throw an interception to Aiden Hutchinson because he doesn't see him lined up a cornerback. Like, neither of the QBs for Chicago really scare me. Herbert kind of does a bit because we saw what Eckler did to us last week. And if the Bears look at the tape and use Herbert in those kind of roles, he could do some damage on us.
And do you think that line coming in is fair with those moves? I mean, I think Jackson's a big loss for us.
Yeah, but even with Jackson out, I mean, you're talking about a team that's levels, and I mean levels better than them. And, you know, we've missed Jackson for games this year. We've missed half our offensive line for games this year, and we've still done fine. I think them bringing it in is it's out of pity. I'd be smashing the hell out of this line. I'd back us to beat double over this team. Our trenches are so much better, and it's not just that. They execute so much better. They are coached much better. We've seen this in recent weeks. The offensive line is coached to an elite gold standard no matter who's in there, and it just does its job so damn well. The defensive line, whilst it's not getting the end production, it's like one of the best in the league against the run. It's one of the best in the league at getting pressure. It's just trying to finish it off. You know, we are that far in front of them at this point. I don't think it makes a jot of difference in this game. We are a far superior team to what they are, and we're going to absolutely kick their ass. And this line coming down is just a bit of a joke for me. I don't really think it matters. Herbert coming back actually might be a blessing because Donta Foreman is a pain in the ass. He's a pain in the ass running back who, wherever he goes, he doesn't seem to get a contract, but he seems to pull out yards. He seems to do all the dirty work and give that offense something that it needs. It helps it move the chains and be adequate. If Herbert comes back and starts eating into his carries and disrupting his momentum, that might be better for us. And Fields is coming back after an extended layoff, and we all remember what we did to Fields last year. Everyone goes, oh, Fields destroyed you and all this. What was he? 9 of 22, 75 yards and a pick last year at Ford Field, 1 interception. Oh, yeah, he had the nice fancy runs and he beat us a bit through the air at Soldier Field, but the team adapted to him. Got one game and they figured him out and they exposed his shortcomings. So I don't care whether it's him or Bajan, they all turn the ball over a lot. You're able to take part in that. So no, I don't think the moves matter a jot. I would just absolutely smash us to take that. I don't think the Bears have got a chance in hell of covering, 7.5 points? No way. They'll not cover double.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the stats now.
It was 7 of 21 for 75 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and then 10 rushes for 132 yards and no touchdowns.
That's it. He had 2 fancy runs against us last year, which everyone remembers, and that's it. People forget the rest of the game. and they forget that he threw, 2 pick sixes against us? We had him home and away. It's like
Yeah.
You know what he is. And Glenn seems to know how to scheme for him and that offense. It's the same offensive coordinator. It's bland and vanilla as hell. It doesn't matter whether Fields is there or not. And like I say, if you're going to cut into your best running backs, they should just run Foreman. They should use Herbert sparingly and just let Foreman do his stuff. You cut in there, then that's going to cause issues in camp. That's going to cause issues with him. So I think it's great that he's back.
Let's move into the Chicago team. So, as we say, Justin Fields is back. Tyson Bagent has played the last 4 games and has gone 2-2 as a starter. Fields was 1-5 before that. The third man is Nathan Peterman in the funniest thing ever. The 4 running backs for the Chicago Bears could be 4 guys who might all be running back 2 in other NFL teams. Donta Foreman, Roschon Johnson, Travis Homer, and Khalil Herbert coming back off IR. Wide receiver-wise, they are a bit light. When have they not been? DJ Moore is the number 1 that came in the big trade out of the number 1 pick. He's been fantastic so far this season. Darnell Mooney, Tyler Scott, Equanimeous St. Brown, Trent Taylor, Velus Jones. So do they have 3 wide receivers people actually want? I'm not sure. But they definitely have 1. Despite how much the argument between Bears fans and Lions fans is about DJ Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown, in isolation, DJ Moore is a fantastic wide receiver 1. And he's having a career year so far. We'll come into that in just a little bit. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Bob Tonyan, and Mercedes Lewis. Front 5, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins. I was about to say Cody Whitehair, but it's not going to be Cody Whitehair. It's going to be Lucas Patrick, Nate Davis, and Darnell Wright. Cody Whitehair has been benched, which I think is, well, unfair when it's Lucas Patrick coming in relief, even though he hasn't been that good. But anyway, on defense, Yannick Ngakoue, Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, and Montez Sweat are their starting 4, but they've got some depth in that line. It's not, despite it not being great in terms of starters, they've got Zach Pickens and Gervin Dexter and DeMarcus Walker to back up, as well as Dominique Robinson. The linebackers, they've got TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, and Jack Sanborn and Noah Sewell. But of course, Sewell is not going on this one, and Edmonds and Sanborn are questionable. So who have they got him as backups otherwise? Dylan Cole, apparently. No, me neither. Cornerbacks, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson is pretty frisky. And then safeties, Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson with Elijah Hicks as backup. Kickers, Cairo Santos. Punt is Trenton Gill. And the long snapper, I've never listed before for a rival team, but I'll do it because why not? That's not a tradition. Patrick Scales. Everyone loves long snappers. Boys, when we have a look over all this team, and I'll come to you first, what's the overwhelming feeling when it comes to the Bears?
They've got some individually very talented players, but they are miles away from being a complete team. Like, the drafts have been weird with them. They've not really gone after their lines. You know, because when we think of Bears football, we think of that defensive line and it absolutely kicking our ass for years and years and years. And that's what Bears football is all about. They've got, I think, are they the least or second least in the league this year in terms of sacks? They don't get pressure off there. Not particularly good at stopping the run in a lot of circumstances. And you look at it, yeah, you've bought Sweat him, but you're paying him $100 million, and he's not even close to being worth that. You've given a pair of linebackers $100 million, and they're struggling there. When you get more production out of Jack Sanborn, who's an undrafted free agent, and then you've had a lot of high draft picks in the secondary, and you put a lot of investment in it, and you're still getting dice through the air. I think, like I said, there are a lot of good guys in there, like Jaquan Brisker. I love him on the Lions. Wanted him last year. They got him, unfortunately, but they just look miles away from being a team. It's really bad coaching. Like, say, that offense, they got loads of big plays, like loads of explosive plays in there. Why? Because teams come up on them. Because they're so vanilla, it's screens. It's just trying to run the ball all the time. I reckon the majority of their passes are screens. Like, that's all he tries to do. And then occasionally they'll hit you downfield because you just bring everybody up and they'll get lucky occasionally. But You've got talented players in there. DJ Moore, yes, very talented. It's like Tevon Jenkins on the line, very talented. You've got Cole Kmet, who's a pain in our ass, and he's the one. Like everybody, even DJ Moore, I don't care about him. Cole Kmet's the one who's always killed us, constantly. Very talented players, but badly coached and too many holes in there for them to be realistically that good. They've beaten up on bad teams this year. When they come up against good teams, they just don't have the team to fight against them. They beat other bad teams. So I don't know. I don't get how they're building that side. It's nowhere near as good as their fans mouthed off that it was going to be. But that doesn't mean I don't like some of the guys in there, but I'm not particularly enamored by that team.
I completely agree. So I was just quickly doing some quick math. About 10% of their plays, roughly, are screens. That's pretty damn high, I believe. But yeah, again, they've got some good players. DJ Moore, me and Matt were discussing it off air before we started. Top 15, 20 wide receiver in the league. Really damn productive on some bad offenses in Carolina. We had Cam Newton throwing him the ball and Sam Darnold throwing him the ball to come here, and he's putting up career numbers. Really good, damn good receiver. Just stuck on bad teams. Darnold, right? Obviously, everyone it was Eric Schlitt's draft crush in the first round this year. Really good right tackle. Coming really solidified that position for them. Kmet's a damn good tight end, as we all know. I've heard me speak about Herbert. He's a good running back. So is Foreman. We saw what he can do when he gets up to speed last year when he was playing for the Panthers. Roshan Johnson, arguably one of the best college backups last year behind Bijan. Really damn good running back. When hopefully he gets a few more carries for them when he's not playing, they're not playing us. And on the defensive line, Sweat's a good player. Happy for him to get his payday now at the Bears, but they've had to use all their cap. He's got a lot of money. We all can remember how much I like Zach Pickens and Gondor Dexter in the draft class. I was really high in them, and as day 2 prospects, they're not really getting played that much by them and not really being put in positions to succeed. Like the list, I can see, obviously, I'm on our lads. They're listing Zach Pickens as a nose tackle when he was an undersized D tackle. That's bad scheming. Edmonds, out of the two, their starting linebackers, I like TJ Edwards a lot more than like Tremaine Edmonds. I was kind of low key, maybe thinking of signing Edwards as a free agent for us. He's a damn good linebacker. And obviously, Jaden Johnson, John Humbrister, Eddie Jackson, good players. Been for a couple of years, just stuck on that bad secondary as the pass rushing from them falls apart. And I like Stevenson in the draft as a man coverage corner, and he's kind of, because he's been the weakest link, he's just been taken every which way by passing offenses. So again, there's players I like, but yeah, it's just a scheme. It's very much like, I hate bringing this up. It's kind of like our Patricia one where we had a load of talent, but because we just weren't putting it in the right places, it just wasn't working and we weren't winning games. That's what's happening here, in my opinion.
It's a bizarre team. It would go in the Hall of Mid if it could, because if I have a look at this team, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's a legitimately awful team. That starting 5 in the offensive line, you go into it saying, we'd like to improve. But there's a lot of teams that would look at that and go, it's better than what we have. There's a lot of shit O-lines out there. And that's just
not a compliment, though, is it?
No,
really?
no, okay, but the idea of, if you want to be the worst team in the league, then having the worst offensive line is a really great way to start, and I just don't think they're there either. They've got a legitimate couple of weapons in the passing game, in, like you say, in DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. Fields, I think, is a bit of a liability when it comes to passing the ball, and he's just kind of holding the team back a little bit now. And you guys know I'm one of the Fields believers, but at this point, you got to start saying, got to do it soon, otherwise you're off, mate. And they've gone all in on the running game, which has worked in terms of the metrics, and I'll talk that in a minute. Montez Sweat was a player who they've vastly overpaid for, but he's going to give them an injection of something they needed, because like Ant said, they're second last in the league in sacks, and he's not a big sack guy, but he's going to get some pressure, and they sorely need it, because the back 7 is good. Sanborn has legitimately, as an undrafted player, been one of the best linebackers in the NFL since he came in last year. He's been fantastic. TJ Edwards, obviously one of the best in... sorry, which one am I thinking of? Tremaine or TJ?
TJ.
Thank you. Sorry, Edwards and Edmonds, I get confused. TJ Edwards, fantastic linebacker, and Edmonds isn't bad either. The back four, I mean, maybe Gordon isn't great. I like Tyreek Stevenson. Jalen Johnson, I hate, but apparently he's good. And Brisker and Jackson are the solid safeties. So fix that front four. And that defense isn't too far away. Again, I say it's very easy to say fix that front four, but with Sweat, they're maybe only 3 away now from having something passable. So I don't think this is as big a rebuild as people think it is. It's just they've got kind of key gaps somewhere, and it starts for me, boys, at quarterback.
So the thing I have against it is, where's the young core? Like, that team is a rebuild. Whether they like it or not, they are a rebuilding team. So why are you paying Tremaine Edmonds? Why are you paying Montez Sweat? Why are you paying big money out for all these guys when, like I say, you've got Jack Sanborn out the draft? You can make him your starting linebacker. You know, that's how a good young team builds. And you look, is the quarterback young? I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, yes, but they're probably going to can him this year if they lose much more. The running backs, kind of, you got Herbert, but all vets. The wide receivers, DJ Moore's the big guy there. The rest of them are scrubs. There's no future there. The offensive line, Tevon Jenkins and Darnell Wright are the young guys. Yeah, Braxton Jones maybe if he could be, but like, where's their Penny, their Amon-Ra, their Aiden, their, you know, they've skipped the process. Like, we went through a couple of very rough years, deliberately knowing we were building a young core, trying to find guys out of nowhere, trying to make as much of this team as possible before investing. They've skipped that step. And now that Eberflus's job is in danger, this Sweat thing smacks of trying to save his job. Not what's best for the team, what's best for the head coach, like Matt Patricia. It's not what's best for this team, what's best for him, and trying to save his fat ass. And it was terrible for us. And that's what I feel with this team. Yeah, they've got some very skilled players on there, but they're not at a level where they can be acquiring those skilled players because they don't have the future longevity. They're not in a Super Bowl run, and all these contracts for them are terrible. I mean, they've just given Billings, the nose tackle, a new 2 or 3 year deal. He's old. I don't know. I just think the build of this team is really bad, and it smacks of Poles trying to rush the process, and I think it's going to bite them very quickly.
One of the metrics I actually wanted to mention is the disparity between run and pass on both sides of the ball. And I won't do it with DVOA, I'll do it with EPA instead because it tells the same story. In terms of offensive rushing EPA, the Bills are 3rd in the NFL. In terms of defensive rush EPA per play, the Bears are number 1 in the NFL. This team is legitimately hard to run the ball on, and they are hard running the ball. So, why are they so bad? Why are they losing games? Well,
I don't know why you're bringing up the Bills when we're doing a Bears preview.
Oh, sorry,
I know you love the Bills, but
I've been talking about the Bills in the chat. I'm obsessed. The Bears might be
better than the Bills.
The Bears are 31st in the NFL in defensive passing EPA per play. And offensive passing, they are 8th worst, 25th in the NFL. So it's just a story of 2 different things. They can't defend the pass and they can't pass the ball, but they can do the opposing things against the run. I think the problem is that those metrics feed into each other. Teams realize they can't defend the pass, and so they pass the ball more. And that means they don't face the run as much. And I mean, if you have a look at their stats this year, the teams that they've faced, when it comes to rushing the ball, they've only conceded 100 yards on the ground twice, and that was against Kansas City and Tampa in 2 of the first 3 games. They conceded 29 against Washington, 39 against the Raiders, 43 against the Panthers, 46 against the Vikings. But they're giving up plenty through the air. And, you know, it's just a team that's wildly... Teams have figured them out. This is their biggest problem, right? Teams have zeroed in on exactly how to beat them, and then they just execute game plan. And it's very telling when they beat the Panthers, and you get the quarterback coming in, having a chat with the team after the game, and all you can hear is fuck Green Bay, which I respect, and fire Luke Getsy. That is what the Bears fans think, even after a victory on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, and that's why you have to look at those stats with a little bit more panache. Like you say with the running game and stuff. It's like you see it all the time. You see it in college. Like a college defense's passing, defense is 130th, but the run defense is top 5, and you're like, why? And then you look at it and you're like, well, they face like a quarter of the runs of everybody else because people have figured out that they just can't defend the pass. And when you're that one-dimensional, that's not good for you on either side of the ball. It's the same with them running the ball. It's where they get the most success. Their offensive line is a lot better run blocking and run protection than it is against the pass. So, of course, they have more success that way. But then when you come up against the good teams who stop you doing that and force you to wear it out, you've seen all the picks they've been throwing recently, and you've seen all the turnovers from the quarterbacks. That's why. And that's why Getsy's to be fired, because you look at it, and it is incredibly vanilla. I listen to Ryan most weeks on Bear Down, and they hate him. It's like with Patricia. You know how we used to say, run, pass? Like, we used to joke about that with Patricia. We used to be able to call this. They're exactly the same with Getsy. They can call his scheme before he even deploys it on the field. It's that vanilla, and it is. Screens, 10%, that's a lot. When you're just doing that all the time. Screens, try and move the chains a little bit, try and get the play action going. And when it's so predictable, it just leads to a situation where they are a really bad team. The only time they've come up against teams who are worse than they are, and, they've beaten in the battle of mid-offs, and you've seen how good teams adapt to them. Score quickly, get in front of them, put them a few scores behind, take their best weapons away. They can't spend 7-8 minutes trying to grind out a drive with a run, and then you just expose them completely. And the coaching's atrocious. That's where you win it against them. It's the coaches. They can't adapt. They can't change. And quite frankly, they're just not good enough to go out there and win games against good teams, despite maybe having the talent at their disposal to at least give them a good run for their money. They don't.
Yeah, completely agree. It's such a big distinguisher in this league is who's calling the damn plays. And, I mean, it's so obvious when you say it, but it's a really underrated factor of most of these games. And actually, when it comes to reviewing these, it's maybe something that we could focus more on. I could focus more on in terms of and who we're playing is what the coaches are, what they like to do, what success they've had in their career, because it's informative. It really is. Let's look at the offense a little bit, actually, overall, and then the offense for the Bears. So, PFF have them at 27th overall, 23rd on offense, 29th on defense. DVOA has them 28th overall, 25th on offense, 28th on defense. So not much variation there. On offense, they play 85% of their snaps between 11 personnel and 12 personnel, 61 in 11 and 24 in 12, getting minus 0.05 and 0.14 EPA per play in those. They pass 2/3 of the time in 11 personnel and just under half the time in 12. To counter those formations, the majority of teams play a variation of nickel against them. 4-2-5, 30% of the time, 2-4-5, 26% of the time, and then in another nickel formation, 3-3-5, 9% of the time, and then in some variations of base, only 19% of the time, 3-4, 12%, and 4-3, 3%. So the majority of teams are coming out facing the Bears in nickel a huge amount of the time, or dime formations. Justin Fields is the starter this season, 100 completions on 162 attempts. I have no idea what that number is that I've just put in there. Never mind. 1,201 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, passer rating of 91.6, and a QBR of 39.1. He's also on the ground, 47 rushes for 237 yards. That's 5 yards per carry and 1 touchdown on the ground. PFF grade of 73.6. Donta Foreman is the lead back at the moment, though, of course, with Khalil Herbert coming back and Foreman questionable. We'll see who goes. But Foreman, who tore us a new one last year, 86 carries for 367 yards. That's 4.3 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. Also 9 of 13 in the air for a touchdown, although I'm being very bad with choosing my stats for this. PFF grade for him is 77.1. DJ Moore, I mentioned that he was having a career year, and he's having a damn good year by his standards. So, DJ Moore, 52 catches on 71 throws, 793 yards, 5 touchdowns for him. And having a look at his career, he's on track to smash his yards per game, because he has had he had 3 consecutive 1,100 yard seasons in Carolina. Fell off last year with 888. With 793 now, he's already going to pass last year's total comfortably. And he played 17 games there too. But he's on pace for, let me see now. So he's on 79 yards a game. Oh, he's on 79 yards a game in his best season. So yeah, he's about there actually. But it's still a very good year for the first year in the Chicago offense. Tight end Cole Kmet, 46 catches on 57 targets, 419 yards, 9.1 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns for him, PFF grade of 71. The grade for Moore was 84.5. Other good grades in this team, Mercedes Lewis, 76. Tevin Jenkins, 72, the right guard, moving over to left for this game to accommodate Nate Davis. And the running back Roschon Johnson, 68.2, the rookie. Other bad grades in there, Larry Borum, the backup tackle, 49.5. Guard Jatiah Carter, who was a late round draft pick last year, can't remember. He's got a grade of 49. Lucas Patrick, 48.9. And he's coming into the team for this game. And Bob Tonyan from Green Bay, the tight end, 47.1. Oh, and Cody Whitehair too. He was obviously dropped for this game. He had a 44.7 grade. So maybe Lucas Patrick at a 48.9 is an upgrade. This is a weird team on offense. And maybe this feeds into the rushing stats that we were talking about earlier. On third down, they are 7th in the NFL with a conversion rate of 43.6%. On fourth down, 7 completions on 6 or conversions on 16 attempts is 23rd in the NFL. But in the red zone, they're very good. 17 touchdowns on 27 trips. That's 5th in the NFL. So good on third down, good in the red zone, which speaks to being a good, solid rushing team when it comes to short yardage situations. I've spoken enough. It's clearly late and I'm struggling to speak here. So I'm going to pass over to you guys. This offense ranked 23rd and 25th by those big metrics, PFF and DVOA. Basic formations with not much variation, met with nickel a lot of the time, and they're able to run on it. Some good grades in there, some good players, quite efficient when they want to be. But boys, they're struggling to put points on the board, and that's what it comes down to when it's all said and done.
Oh yeah, so I'm actually going to do what you mentioned a few minutes ago and discuss the offensive coordinators, maybe explain why. Because I do know a tiny bit about Getsy, because he obviously used to be the QB coach and passing game coordinator for Green Bay before he became the offensive coordinator, which means he's part of the Shanny system, which perhaps explains a bit about their insistence on the run, the use of formations, and perhaps why they haven't been so good passing the ball, because what have we seen in the league over the past couple of years for the Shanny system to really work? He needs a good QB who's able to distribute the ball on time. Brock Purdy, Jimmy G, Tannehill when he had his good years. All good QBs who, when in time and in rhythm, can distribute the ball well, accurately, on time to their receivers. Players like Justin Fields, Trey Lance, who might have the flashy rushing stats and the big arms and such, but aren't so good in rhythm, can't really distribute the ball on time to their receivers at a good place. They don't work in this system. So perhaps that explains a tiny bit why this offense is kind of failing, because it's not putting Fields in the best position to succeed scheme-wise. Like, I'm looking now at us, because obviously I was then doing preview articles. He is elite according to PFF in the deep zones. 96.3 passing grade when his targets are 20 plus yards down the field. That's pretty damn good. But they only throw that deep 16% of the time. They throw the ball roughly about the other percentage. They're throwing all close to the line of scrimmage where, 0 to 9 yards, good, about 80 grade. But every QB is like that. Into the intermediate zone, which is kind of where the NFL passing offenses go these days, especially the Shanny scheme, below average grade, 51.2. He can't use the area of the field that is the most important in today's NFL, where you target the linebackers and the safeties. Fields just can't do that in this scheme. And that's where DJ Moore in raking routes does his work. Darnell Mooney in the slot does his work. The only player that Fields can seemingly consistently target there is Cole Kmet, and that's because he's a big-ass motherfucker. So it's easy. So if Fields throws it a couple yards off target, he's got the catch radius to bring it in. It's just this. It might be that Fields needs a new offensive coordinator to maybe who can use the best of him. But at the same time, the Bears need a new QB, as you said, because it's just not worked for him here. He needs a new start. So if they keep Getsy around and they get Caleb Williams in, God help them, because they're probably going to do the same to him. And yeah, you might have a bit better of a defense who can, actually stop some people every once in a while, but he's still got to be the guy there. And kind of we've seen this year with Williams at USC to kind of go a bit into Ants territory. So he can't do it all by himself. And that's what it might be here. The QB has to do everything himself and just can't in the modern NFL. So that's why they're failing.
Caleb's performing a masterful tank at the minute. He's just putting himself behind Drake, so Drake is the one who has to go to Chicago. I admire Caleb's dedication to his own personal tank. It's great. I think he's a great guy, but Ash is right. Fields isn't that good in some regards. I mean, JT showed it on QB School. Bagent drops back a full second quicker than Justin Fields does. I mean, the drop back, he's so slow and lethargic and looking for his guys early. Tyson Bagent, confident, quick drop back, scans the field, good pass. Because I know he's thrown a load of picks, but he's an undrafted free agent from Div 2. I mean, he's seeing lots of looks he's never seen for the first time. He has athletes he's never ever played against in his life to the caliber he has. But the one thing he's quite good with his passing efficiency. Why? Because he's dropping back quick and putting himself in the best situations. And he can throw with anticipation. Justin Fields cannot throw with even the smallest amount of anticipation. It's crazy. You see JT again and again and again pulling up plays where he's not firing until his guy's already in. What's the one thing Goff's done really well this year? He's throwing with elite anticipation. His balls are halfway to the target before the guys are coming out their routes because he knows exactly where they're going to be. That is a good, confident quarterback. Justin Fields is not. And you're coming into year 3 and you're still lacking these things. It's not good. He may be a flashy QB who does all the running stuff and bits like that, but the fundamentals which will see him succeed at the next level for a long time are not there. And they've been shown by an undrafted guy who came out this year. He's playing his first ever football at this level before. So there is certainly an issue there with him. And the other thing I very quickly wanted to mention, you mentioned DJ Moore. He's on course for a career year. Who's played 2 games less than him and has 30 more receiving yards this year?
Oh,
yeah, the guy on our team who is not as good as him. First there was Mooney, then there was Claypool, and then there was Moore. They're better than Amon-Ra. St. Brown, shut up. No, they're not. 2 less games than Amon-Ra has more yards. 600-yard games this year. You think he's in that category? Wrong.
I do want to bring out Darnell Mooney now that you mention his name, because now DJ Moore has actually taken the wide receiver 1 spot from him. All the narrative was, well, now Darnell Mooney doesn't have to be the guy as the wide receiver 1, as the only guy worth his salt. And to his credit, he did very well in that role as a guy who should never have been in that position, but was forced to perform. He had a 1,055-yard season in 2021. He played 12 games last year for 493 yards. He's played 10 games this year, all of them, and he has 321 yards. You're meant to be getting better assignments. Where are you?
He feels like the deep threat this year. I can't corroborate that, but it feels like a lot of his catches are big ones deep down the field.
I've got it in front of me. He's 14.6 yards, 14.6 yards per reception. That's 1.6 yards higher than his career year, and it's 2.3 yards higher than last year.
Because the one thing I've noticed about this offense, first play of the game, they will launch it up in mile. And they've done that multiple times now. Mooney seems to be the guy they go at. So, they try and catch you unawares, this team. But like I say, when you put up the stats saying how good he is throwing deep downfield, like I said, he doesn't throw that much. And the reason is, again, as I've already said, defenses tighten up against here because they're run-based. They throw screens, you do bring your guys up, so it is going to give you some better matchups down the field. But You're not going to get away with that all the time. Same with the red zone conversion. I'm willing to bet they've not been in the red zone like anywhere near as much as a lot of other teams have. You know, there's a low scoring offense in a lot of cases. I don't reckon they go there as much. But yeah, I just want to mention those bits. But I will be nice and say Komet's a fucking monster, and I hate him. And we need to find something to stop him, whether it be a baseball bat or a loaded gun or something that stops him running on us. I think he, again, might be wrong, but I feel like he got all their receiving touchdowns against us last year. I'm sure he got 2 at Soldier Field, and I'm sure he got the one they got at Ford Field. I could be wrong, but he's got to be top of the guys who scored touchdowns on us for Chicago last year. He's a menace.
He is a menace. In terms of red zone trips, this year they've had 27. We've had 31. We've scored 15 touchdowns from the red zone trips. They've scored 17. So they have legitimately more red zone touchdowns than us on less trips. They are genuinely more efficient. We score more deep touchdowns. So
yeah, for me, well, to go into that red zone, I think it is because Fields can run it. Because it just gives you that other dimension in the red zone where you can run a speed option or read option with Fields, and the teams have to respect it. It's either Foreman gets the ball and is able to get 5-6 yards and score a touchdown, or Fields keeps it and heads just beats people to the corner and gets in. Like, I love Goff to bits, but that's probably the one thing Fields has on him is in the red zone. Fields' legs just make him a different factor.
Goff got more rushing touchdowns than him last year.
Yeah, exactly. Goff is Vanilla Vic this year, though. Like, I think
Goff had a zone read this year for a touchdown.
I know it was great, wasn't it?
I called for it last week. You clipped it and put it on the bloody thing.
He's got 2 now, hasn't he? I think Fields has only got 1 this year. Although that's like, oh, damn it. It feels like, because they've made a deliberate part of their offense this year not to run him as much, haven't they? They're trying to keep him in the pocket more, and they're trying to get him passing it more, a la what the Ravens and Lamar Jackson
what they
did with Josh Allen.
My apologies, but
what they did with Josh Allen as well.
Yeah, and you know it's obviously working treats for the Ravens, but you kind of feel like Justin Fields' whole thing is you are really scared by how he can run the ball, and when you're clipping his wings when you keep him in there. He doesn't make the most sensible decisions. He's still very turnover with it. It feels like you're really tying a hand behind his back with this, which is why the Bears coaching is so, mysterious to me. It's like, well, yeah, you don't want to run the ball all the time, but you've got to make it a viable part of your game. That's what makes your offense good. And they've deliberately gone out their way to not do that this year, as though they're like trying to prove that he's not a running quarterback. But at the same time, you've got to use him for that.
Exactly. Imagine. So I subscribe to that like play a day email system where you get a play. The one today where it was CJ Stroud on a PA booth where he just throws a comeback screen and a comeback post. Down the field. Imagine Fields doing that where you get him in a moving pocket. You've got a nice deep rope for him to run about, and all he has to do then is set his feet after he sort of got out of the pocket and throw across the field. He'd be elite at that. They aren't doing that with him. And CJ Stroud obviously comes from Ohio State as well, so probably been taught the exact same things. Shows a difference in coaching where you've got the player who's come out this year from Ohio State looks like a much better quarterback than the one who's been in the league for 4 years already.
Yeah, and see, this is why I'm not. A lot of Bears fans subscribe it all to the coaching, but I think it is on Fields. Stroud has shown that you can come up here and you can learn this stuff, and he seems to have found a good balance. And quite frankly, with not even close to the weapons Justin Fields has had in his time there or been invested in, CJ is just defying all sorts of logic at the moment. But there's certainly a lot on Fields not developing. Stroud is showing things like you said. Anticipation and that some of the touchdowns have been beautiful this year because of the anticipation, because of the flight of the ball, because of all these little nuanced things that Justin Fields still does not show now.
Let me ask you this one question to finish up this chat on the Bears offense. Would you be more scared of this team with Fields starting with a threat on the ground or Tyson Bagent with a threat with both? Because he could do it on the ground as well.
Bagent's young and untested and is prone to bad throws. You know, as much as I've ragged on Justin here, I don't like him being in there. I prefer Bajan. You can hound rookies into mistakes better, like raw rookies like him. Fields still has his legs to be able to get out of pressure. We've seen many times against us, and he can still do that. But yeah, I would prefer them to have Bajan from our point of view.
Oh, I'm with you, and I know there will be Lions fans who look at Bajan, and I even said it. I think the offense is operating better with Bajan at quarterback. He is, as you adequately said, a better drop back passer. He gets back quicker, makes better throws, but Fields can run for 170 yards on the ground for you, and if he can pass for another 100, that can be enough to win a game, and that can take over. That can also clock manage. You know, there are more ways to win with Fields in the team than not, but I just wanted to ask the question to see what you thought.
If you put Goff's IQ into Bajan's brain, he'd be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like that. No, I think he would. I think with that athleticism and Goff's IQ, you would make a very dangerous quarterback. That's just what he lacks at the minute.
Which makes sense because you might remember this time last year, Reese was saying, oh yeah, there's a Division 2 quarterback that the Lions have sent scouts to watch a couple of times. That was Bajan. So this team also knows a bit about Bajan because we've seen him in college when not many people knew about him before the Senior Bowl. We were there watching him. So if it was Bajan's as well, we've got a better sense of what he can do well and what he can't do well compared to most NFL teams because we've seen him for a lot longer. Or we feel it's okay, yeah, we've got all these years of game tape of him at Ohio State and now here. But he's still, because he hasn't developed as a passer, it's that scary thing that if he does somehow, one day he just wakes up and he wakes up on the right side of the bed and suddenly that switch is flipped in his head and he suddenly figures out up there how to be a QB, he could be damn scary. But it's just the fact, as we said earlier, it's been so long that I truly doubt at this point that switch is ever going to flip. He's never going to flip it around. The best he can hope for maybe is like a Geno Smith revival in 5-6 years when he's been bounced around a couple of teams, been in a few offensive schemes and picks up that process of processing that way rather than it just being there.
And he's injured this time. Like, he's coming back off an injury. He's got a bullseye on him now. And I would exploit that if I was the Lions. You know, it's his throwing arm. There's injury to be had there. You put him under pressure, make him panic. It is a vulnerability. Even though he's back, it's a vulnerability because he's coming back off an injury layoff, which is fairly serious.
All right, let's turn our attention to the defensive side of the ball, and the Bears are particularly unimaginative when it comes to formations. Play in nickel 68% of the time and in base 25% of the time. The remaining 7% is made up of a couple of different formations, but nothing more than 5% of their total defensive snaps. When they play nickel, they face the pass 73% of the time, which speaks to what we were saying about the Bears being especially weak against the pass. They're conceding 0.05 EPA per... No, they are gaining 0.5 EPA per play. Sorry, my bad. So in nickel, they're actually doing quite well. But in base, 4-3, 25% of the time, minus 0.06 EPA per play, facing the pass 43% of the time. So not what? That doesn't even make any sense considering what we've been saying about EPA, so I'm going to move on.
It's because I think when they've got most of their interceptions in nickel, so that does heavily skew EPA, I do believe. Because I thought the same when I first found this, when I found the website you're using, when I first found it, I was a bit like that. But yeah, it's because interceptions and fumbles, so basically turnovers do skew EPA, so you do see, for example, nickel probably is a bit higher because you're more likely to get an interception in that than you are in base, for example.
That makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, at least we have a thought on that. Teams play 11 personnel 62% of the time against them and 20% of the time. So teams are being fairly conventional against them. In terms of statistical leaders, the leading tackler is TJ Edwards. 1 pass defended, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 2 sacks, 112 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 80.2. Yannick Ngakoue, the late pickup in this offseason, the defensive end, he's the sack leader with 3. He has 18 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of, wait for it, 38.4. Jalen Johnson, he has been someone that I just don't believe the PFF grade of, but we'll speak about him in a minute. 2 interceptions leads the team, 1 touchdown as well, 4 passes defended, a forced fumble, 23 tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a PFF grade of 82. And Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie this year out of Miami.
Out of Miami, yeah.
6 passes defended, 57 tackles, a tackle for a loss, PFF grade of 47.6. They obviously traded for Montez Sweat for a early second round pick, as it's going to end up being, to try and change their fortunes on that defensive line. Other good grades in there, I say good in inverted commas. The safety Eddie Jackson, 69.5, cornerback Kyler Gordon, 69.1, and the linebacker Jack Sanborn, 67.7. Bad grades in there. Eli Hicks, the safety. Is it Eli? Why can't I remember his name? It is Elijah Hicks. 47.1, and DeMarcus Robinson, the defensive end, 37.9. On defense, they are one of the worst situational teams in football. 30th on 3rd down, 23rd on 4th down, 31st in the red zone. So not a lot to write home about there, despite being good in rush DVOA and rush EPA per play. And it's like, hang on a minute, in the red zone you're giving everything up. Again, it's all coming through the air, so there we go. Boys, this defense, I mean, it starts with the front four. It always has, as you said, Ant, at the start of this show. And their front four just hasn't got it done this year.
No, it's not a Bears team. Like, every team has their foundational thing about them. No matter how many coaches they go through, there's always something about them that defines that team. And with the Bears, it's the edge rush. You know, back in the days when Hakeem Hicks just used to make our life nightmare with Khalil Mack and all these guys, all 4 guys would need double teaming. That was kind of what they put in there, and that's what won them so many games. Hell, it's what won them a Super Bowl. You know, the defense has always been the identity there. And again, this is why I question the ability of this team going forward. Because you look at the young pieces there, and there aren't. You trade for Yannick Ngakoue, who's come in, and you know he's looked all right, but I believe his PFF grade's one of the worst on the teams as well. It's all their edges. There's not really been much stock put in the young guys there. Yeah, you're going to get Montez sweating, but he can't do it all on his own. He might be like Aiden. He'll get pressure, but he'll get no sacks. He'll get no production. And then in the center of the line, you're not really playing your rookies that much either. The whole point, like the reason Aleem and guys like that are really good now, they got exposed to a lot of football. Maybe a bit too much, who knows? But overall, it's worked out well for us. And you've built a really good young defensive front. A lot of guys in there for us who are very young. They haven't. And I know they're good. They say they're good defending against the run, but it's because teams don't. You look at all the teams who've beaten them, and I mean, a lot of them don't rush for like more than 50, 60 yards. But it still put 350, 400 yards of offense down on them, which is more than enough. So, you know, they don't have that defensive identity that they usually do. I mean, you know, the linebackers, they've been all right, but, you know, you can't have 100 million in there, have no pass rush, and then expect them to do everything for you and to be able to live up to that billing. And the secondary, some guys have hit, some guys have missed it. It's still a big work in progress, which is why spending 100 million on Montez Sweat and not just building the damn thing through the draft is so confusing for them. So, you know, like I said, situationally, they're bad because they've got some good players, but they've not got a good team and they've not got good coaches, and they flatter to deceive, I think, in a lot of these cases. You know, all the interceptions they've got, a lot of the productivity they've got is against bum quarterbacks on bad teams. You look at the good ones and they just don't do the job. They're really far away from being where they need to. It's a weird mix. A load of highly overpaid guys in there and then a load of chaff and a couple of young guys. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and it's kind of telling that you didn't mention one position group. And that's the one this coach really values because he's been a linebacker coach all his damn life. Eberflus loves his linebackers. Think back to his Colts days with a guy called Land. He loves his linebackers, yet that's the least valuable position on bloody defense. Yet he keeps pushing resources that way. You can have all the, like, obviously got Tremaine Edmonds, who good young linebacker, about 8 months older than me. Really good. Damn good. Been to some Pro Bowls and all that. Not doing much for you this year. TJ Edwards, great linebacker. Getting some stats for you. hasn't really done that much for you. As you said, like the density always comes down to defensive line. So again, doing my previous articles, Ngakwe, who's obviously we mentioned being the worst pass rusher, his pass rushing grade out of about, I think it was about 300 edge rushers who's done more than 80 pass rushing snaps. His PFF grade, 229th. His pass rush win rate, 200th. Pressures on the year, tied for 54th. So that's okay. He's not been producing their best one, according to BFF. Their best pass rusher is Andrew Billings. 92nd of all defensive linemen.
Tackle.
Exactly. 67.4 grade, which is tied for 92nd of all defensive linemen to play 80 more snaps. That's their best one by PFF grade. His pressures on year 15, tied for 122nd, and his 10.1 pass rush win rate is 109th. When your best pass rusher has stats that are in the hundreds, really says a lot about you. Bringing in Montez Sweat is great guy. He's having, if he's not even really making impact for you on the pass rush snaps, according to PFF, he's actually having more of an impact, supposedly on the run defense, as being their best run defender, than he is on the pass rush. That kind of says a lot about the way you're sort of scheming up your defense and how you're prioritizing resources. Because look at us, okay, yeah, some of our hits on some of our acquisitions on pass rush this year have been so good. Given Charles Hatch the contract, okay, he's coming off an injury, hasn't been that impactful. Commish hasn't been as good this year. But at least we've got that steady rotation of guys that all kind of that level. With the Bears, it's Montez Sweat, Yannick Ngakwe, who is a load of athleticism, none of the brain. He's got all the tools and none of the gear to actually make it work. And then just a bunch of nothing. Like, what do they have? They don't have anything there. So I agree with Ant, they need to really, this draft cycle and free agency, focus on that, get back to basics and kind of fuck Eberflus off. Like, he's had 2 years, hasn't really worked out for him. Get someone in, hopefully get an offensive guy in who has some connections around the defense, hopefully can help your new quarterback bed in properly, and get someone in who doesn't play the fucking cover free Seattle free defense, which has been found out 8 years ago with the Shanny scheme. Because that's what Bruce plays. He plays the cover free that the Colts played, that the Seattle Seahawks played in Legion Boom days. Atlanta played with Dan Quinn. It's an old defense. It doesn't work anymore. That's 2 iterations of defense ago. Since then, we've had the Fangio defense, and now we're having our new sort of split scheme on that we kind of play a bit of, and the Eagles play a bit of now with their new defensive coordinator. If you're playing a scheme that's 2 iterations ago, you're really outdated, and it's showing with their performance on defense. Yeah, you can stop the run for a bit when teams decide to run on you, but when you're passing it, when you're giving it up in the pass, when it's a passing league these days, really says a lot. It really, really says a lot about how you're prioritizing your defense.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the mocks and everything, but you then look at what people think they're going to do next year when it comes to this team, and you've got significant investment to make on both your lines. You've got 2 picks in the top 5, a quarterback and a wide receiver. You've got DJ Moore, you've got Justin Fields, if you feel like he's the guy there, and yet you're still going and getting your pretty toys on offense. They might not do it, but there's a reason these mocks are made the way they are. Why are they not going after edge rushers? Why are they not going after tackles? But you're still not fixing your defensive identity. And until they do that, doesn't matter how flashy that offense is, how many points it scores. USC show this every single week. Your defense sucks and just doesn't do anything. It does not matter how good it is. And it's like, they need to rediscover who they are again as a team. Until they do, they're going to occupy our place at the bottom of the NFC North, because it shows in the way they play. They are so unthreatening to an opposition quarterback that any decent QB will just toy with them and rip them up.
Their route to becoming successful as well, just getting away from this game, is kind of easy, right? Have the number 1 pick, trade out of it to number 4 or something like that, pick up a first next year for your trouble, take Olu Fashanu, take Marvin Harrison. Those are the transformative players on offense. It gives Fields a chance in 1 more year to go for it, and you got your 2 first-round picks for the following year to make your QB pick. And that buys that quarterback for 2025's draft a bit more time, with some players who've embedded a bit more, and 2 legit weapons when that person comes in as a rookie. Just don't pick the quarterback this year, but they're definitely going to, and it's going to be fucking hilarious when they do, because they'll ruin them too.
you've got to put blue chips in. Like, Balls is obsessed with trading away his picks and that, but at some point you have to inject blue chip players into your team. Hence why we've got Penay Sewell in there. I mean, he kind of dropped to us, but still, Aiden, you're going to be a blue chip player. You've got to inject that sort in there. So to just keep trading away and amassing picks, it's not good. Because I think Pauls will be on the hot seat next year. He can't afford to. Like, stock next picks for the next GM. Screw that. He'll want to do it this year, but there is a route to them. I think he's already thinking he's on the hot seat now. That's why he's trading for Sweat. Yeah, and for Eberflus as well, like who is done. What if another coach comes in and doesn't want him, or he's going to use a different defensive scheme or something? Again, that's why this Bears build makes no sense. They're rushing the process with a head coach whose days are numbered. So I would
have fired him already.
Yeah, I would have. No back-to-back wins, no back-to-back wins, and they're playing the scrubbiest of scrub schedules this year against some incredibly bad teams. I mean, they got annihilated at home by the Packers. How bad does that look now? That they were unprepared, not ready. It was like when the Jets absolutely does up to start Patricia's career here. It was that level embarrassing. And, they're stockpiling all these players, splurging all this cap. They're going to have a new head coach. It's like, save your cap. Make a nice situation, because Brad never had this. Brad never had heaps of cash to use in his first few years, but they're ruining their future. I mean, as a Lions fan, I love it. Keep making these big signings. I mean, they gave picks for Ngakoue, picks for Sweat and money.
Not picks for Ngakoue. Ngakoue was a free agent. Not? No, free agent signing basically at the end. Camp finished, and then he signed on about a week before the season started.
You got these guys.
That's probably why he's been shit.
Yeah. Giving away a second for Chase Claypool. You're giving your second. This is where you build the core of your team. Yeah. And there's going to be a massive disquiet here when that money runs out.
Exactly. Well, to make it even more damning for Eberflus and Poles, I heard this if you've heard it on, I think it's Detroit Lions. It was on Notice the Detroit Lions breakdown with Eric and Joe. So, if you've heard the stat, feel free to say it. But if you haven't, how many divisional games have the Bears won with Eberflus as head coach?
Does it feels like 1-9 against the NFC North? Is it 1-9?
So I think is Flus.
When did they beat us? We swept them last year. They beat us year what? Fields has beaten us once.
So it's just with Flus. It's just with Flus. So it's the.
Oh right. So none.
Yep, he's 0 for 8 in division right now. 0 for 8. Wow. In this division where you've kind of got.
It sounds like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 2 years ago.
I think Patricia at least averaged like one divisional game a year.
Patricia had 3. Yeah, Patricia had 3, I think.
Exactly.
Wow.
When you're not even winning in the division, when you've got, this year you've got the Packers who are in a rebuild with Jordan Love, Vikings who are in a bit of a flux right now with their defense aging out and all that. Us kind of starting off last year very slow. To be 0-8 in the division with all this and you splurge and all this, it's idiotic. As I say, I completely agree. Just get rid of Poles, get rid of Flus, bring a whole new regime and start again and do it properly this time.
Yeah, they're rushing for quick results.
And they don't have to, because the base is not too bad either. It's not like a complete teardown.
Well, they got the money. I mean, what money did Brad Holmes have in his first 2 years? He had nothing, literally nothing. Yeah. What did the Bears have? They've like 100 million both years, and you're like, Jesus, just keep hold of that money. You don't need to use it all the time. Stop your draft.
I think they had to this year because they've got this something rule like you need
95% of cap over 3 years. You have to spend. They had to spend it.
I mean, you lock your bread. You lock your bread and butter players down with that, and you get your core together with it.
I guess that is what I would say though about this team is while I think that they have a quite good base to build on, I wouldn't be paying anyone on this team. I don't think they have any blue chippers apart from DJ Moore.
No.
Yeah, not really.
No.
I wouldn't be paying Jalen Johnson.
Isn't Moore due a deal soon? Because he's still working off his Carolina deal.
He's in the final year of his contract as a first round.
Yeah.
Is he? Is he a first rounder?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. So I'm looking out there.
Second rounder, weren't he?
I think so. So I'm looking out their free agents.
But they're going to have to pay him.
Yeah.
DJ Moore is signed through 2025.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He might want a new deal, though.
He might want a new deal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He signed a new deal, I think, when he got traded to the Bears as part of that trade, because it's a 3-year deal he signed with the Bears.
Signed in 2022, which
there's only 1 year in.
Okay.
I think they signed it because it was the trade happened before the start of the new league year. It counts as being signed in 2022 when it kicked in 2023 league.
Ninth highest paid wide receiver in football.
Yeah, and if he has a career year, he might want more money going forward, especially if he's losing all the time. But I don't know if you agree, but I feel like the Packers are what the Bears could be very soon. Like, the Packers have a bad quarterback. They have a lot of players on top dollar, Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, guys like this who it now fucks with their timeline because they're paying a lot of money for big players, but they're not ready to compete now. So they're going to have to hit the reset button again and put themselves back even further. And with the Bears making all these big money investments in there, but the quarterback situation is not right. If they whiff on the next guy, or if they stick with Fields and he doesn't work, they're going to be where the Packers are right now, which is like, you're going to have to press the dynamite. You're going to have to set off the dynamite and blow it up, because that's what the Packers need to do. They're not going anywhere on the job.
I've just had a look at the Packers cap situation, and it is fucking
horrendous.
Beautiful.
They've got
$22.8 million of cap space, but they only have 44 players on the roster. They must cut David Bakhtiari, regardless of injury status, because he's on the books for $40.6 million next season. They also have Kenny Clark on 27.5 and Jair Alexander on 24.3. There's not a lot of moving, but they'll get 21.5 million back for cutting David Bakhtiari, but that leaves them $44 million. They'll have to fill that with 10 players, including their rookie class, and then they have no one. They're not paying a quarterback. It's a joke. Anyway, getting back to the Bears, I just want to point out one of those players that is highly rated, that does want a new deal, that was on the trade block before the trade deadline passed, did not get moved, wants a new deal, and didn't get one before Montez Sweat did, and is pretty pissed off, and that's Jalen Johnson. 2 interceptions this year, both in the same game, including a pick 6, has several passes defended, has a PFF grade of 82, and people think he's one of the premier cornerbacks in this league. But I saw in the game where he got 2 interceptions, a player that was getting picked on, that was a DPI machine. And actually is one of the things I want to come on to later. But even some of their good players, apparently, I don't think are that good.
He is a lesser version of Trayvon Diggs. Can get the flashy turnovers, but will also just give up massive receptions. And to the common eye, because he gets those interceptions, people think he's a good. Like I won't say he's the best corner in the league, and he's obviously not the worst, because he's a top 64 corner in the league for sure. But yeah, I'm not paying him like he's a top. I'm not giving him, for example, like a Cam Sutton contract at all.
No,
at least Cam is kind of consistent, and yeah, doesn't get the flash. It doesn't get the turnovers. As we saw, unfortunately, against the Chargers, where he let that interception go through his hands, but at least he can kind of lock down the receiver, get a couple of PBUs, and doesn't really give up that many big plays. That's what I value more than a couple of turnovers.
But think what it means for like the team harmony. He's born and bred Chicago. Like, they drafted him 4 years ago, and he said he was after a new deal, and they're bringing in high-priced free agents and not paying their own. That would be like us when, Amon-Ra's next year saying, oh, actually, you know what? We're just going to bring in someone high price because we'll have a bit of money and we're not going to pay you. And it's like, that's a bad way to run a team. It's a bad way to build a team. It sends out a message to all your other draft picks that, yeah, actually, you can play well, but there might not be a payoff here. And I think that is a really big issue for them because, yeah, he's not like a top cornerback, but you draft and develop. That's how you make a great team. you draft and develop, and they have just basically said F you to him. And we're not bothered. You're playing really well, but we don't care. We should go get all these high-priced guys instead.
Just don't think he's playing well. I want to go after him. I want to be targeting him, personally. Maybe
Tyreek looks better. Tyreek looks better.
And he's got half the PFF grade. And I agree with you.
I think corners get picked on by PFF a bit, don't they? But when Tyreek passes the eye test, like he's
100%. Ball production weighs heavily on PFF grade, and he's had 2 interceptions and a pick 6, whereas Tyreek hasn't. But Tyreek just looks better when you watch him.
I mean, he's already outshone Kyler Gordon, really, and Kyler Gordon was a first-round pick.
Yeah,
like he's already showing much more than Kyler Gordon has while he's been there. That's how good he's been.
I just want to say vindication, because I was really high on him in the draft process. I feel happy.
You loved him.
And he's a Miami Hurricane, so he has to be even better.
Exactly.
Right, let's look at specific sides of the ball then, and where we think the advantage lies. Bears run offense versus the Lions run defense. The Bears have been good running the ball, and Fields is in there, and they got the rookie Roschon Johnson in there, as well as Donta Foreman, who's burned us in the past. And they got Herbert coming back, and Travis Homer's no slouch either. But I mean, we still haven't conceded 100 yards on the ground yet this season in a game, have we? So who has the advantage in this one?
It depends how they deploy Fields, is my answer to this, because he had 200-yard rushing games against us last year. I mean, if you're going to tell me they're going to keep him as a pocket passer and they're going to try and run the ball down our throats, then I'd say we'll absolutely smash the living daylights out of them. Whilst our D-line doesn't, not getting praised for its pass rush, one thing it's always been great at, and even against the Chargers, people were having a go at our defense, but it's like, well, they shut Austin Eckler up. They got a good offensive, especially on the left. It doesn't have to be a great offensive line all the way. They shut some good offensive linemen down. You will absolutely wreck this Bears run offense, because our D-line's just that much better when it comes to that facet of it. The linebackers that we have in, the guys, how we've been aggressive, we've been against it. And, Foreman's good. These guys are good, but they're not like Gibbs. They're not guys who will make a lot themselves. With due respect to what their running backs have done, they've done well, but it's because they've had big assholes burrowed for them. I don't see these guys. I don't see Donta Foreman just juking 3 guys and making all this room and making these big plays. He's not going to do that. So we're going to absolutely wreck them. It's just about containing Fields and keeping the run between the tackles. If it's between the tackles, we'll eat them alive.
Just want to switch a correction. We conceded more than 100 rushing yards against the Ravens. Excuse me for that. Ash, what do you make on
what game?
Ravens.
I don't remember that game.
Ravens.
What game?
He's men in blacked himself.
I know.
Oh, Ravens. Play along. We've got amnesia. We forget that happens.
Bury the tape.
But unfortunately, I'm going to bring it up again. That's the kind of game plan I think that could beat us on the ground, where they do a lot of like read options and stuff like that, where we have to play the quarterback because we're playing the quarterback, obviously the running back will probably get 5-6 yards. That's the only way to be able to find it. That's the only way I can see the Bears really having success on the ground, because our primary focus will be keeping Fields in the pocket, as we said, because he's not that great of a pocket passer, and it limits his best ability. So if that's what they do, if they just come out and just start running RPOs and speed options and such, they probably will be able to get a decent chunk on the ground. But at the same time, they keep doing that, they'll get down, because if we showed anything last week, it's that we can put a lot of points down if we want to. So if they keep doing that, it might get to the second, they might get to the half with good 90, 100 rushing yards, but they also might be 3 scores down, and they might have to abandon the run to go to the pass because they need to catch back up. So they might get a half a good rushing performance, but that's about it.
See, I'd take that. I mean, look what he did at Ford Field last year. What was it? 130 yards on the ground from him. They got 7 points. We absolutely cakewalked them. Why? Because they couldn't run the ball properly. They were giving in design runs and stuff like that, but you can't run the clock down. You can't keep good control of possession. You can't keep your defense off the field. I will take him. If I have to suffer another fancy run that gets put all over the internet and we beat them by 40 points, sign me up. I will quite happily do that. I don't want Glenn to do what he did against Lamar and show him too much respect. Like, you've got to be you. Like, and we weren't us in that game. Like, we are a team who defend the run really well because we go after the running backs, we keep it tight, and that is who we need to be. And if Justin's got to break off a few runs, fine, I don't care.
The biggest difference in this game compared to previous years is we actually have a good slot defender who can assist in the run game in Brian Branch.
I was going to bring up in a minute. I was going to bring up the 4th ranked according to the X-Gen stats. You've stole my thing again.
I was only talking about his run defense. I'm just saying, if you want to just have a 4-man front and have your 2 edge defenders playing contain, but then they run read option, you're causing that edge defender to be in a dilemma. But if you've got the slot defender on that side providing support, then you've got 2 people on them if they can see that it's a zone read. Of course, that might be the player that they're actually reading in the first place, so it creates a bit of dilemma for Branch. But that's where Anzalone comes in. If you're reading Branch, Anzalone has to be the guy, and if you're reading Anzalone, Branch has to be the guy. And either one of them have to do the cleaning up outside of the edge defender. And if we can do that, we should contain their run pretty simply.
Or Campbell. I was looking, obviously doing my thing. I didn't realise this as I was looking. He's one of like 6 linebackers in the league that not missed a tackle this season. I didn't even realise that until I was looking. He's got a 0% missed tackle rate. I didn't even realise that.
Fair enough. There we go.
Do we count screens as runs as well? Because I mean, like that, they do a lot of that as well. You got to defend against these guys.
But we're very good against that as well. I mean, Jerry's one of the best defenders against the screen in the NFL.
Yeah, I just think we match up perfectly against them.
Yeah,
of course we do. We used the Theo Riddick running scheme for a good couple of years.
Okay, so moving on to the Bears' passing offense, which is what we're talking about now against the Lions' passing defense. Obviously, we gave up a fair amount in the air against the Chargers and are feeling a bit butthurt about it, to be honest, conceding, what did we concede? 323 in the air, but only 77 against the Rays, 357 in the air against the Ravens. You know, it's not been a pass defense that has done great in 2 out of the last 3 games. Obviously, Fields has been out for 4 games. And it didn't exactly have a great resume before this when it came to passing offense. Got a couple of weapons. How do you think we match up against this?
Actually, what do the Ravens and the Chargers have that the Bears don't? In fact, no, I'll let Ash have this because this is his thing.
Of course you're going to let me have it after Jeremy rinsed me on the POD mailbag for asking the question about this.
Go on, Ash, you take it.
Oh, for
I'm
God's
bit polite.
Because as Jeremy quite rightly pointed out in the mailbag when I asked the question, but all I wanted was a nice schematic discussion with Eric about what we can do. That Herbert, Lamar can both scramble, but they can also pass the ball well. Fields might have all the athletic ability in the world. He might be Usain Bolt running here, there, and everywhere like a blue-ass fly. But I've probably got probably a better quarterback process in mind than he does, and I'm me. I just sit there on Madden, throw the deep ball to Jalen every play, and score touchdowns. We'll be able to just keep him in the pocket, force him in the pocket, force him to pass. Okay, yeah, but we might give up 100 yards to DJ Moore because they'll see what Keenan Allen the Chargers did with Keenan Allen last week. Do a bit of that against us. But Branch is going to lock down Mooney. Whoever's going to be lining up against Jerry, be it Equinemius St. Brown or Tyler Scott or whoever is going to get locked down, it's just going to be on Cam Sutton to stick to DJ Moore and not give up any big plays. I have faith in that.
Actually, you went in a different direction to what I was setting up there. But what the Chargers and the Ravens have that the Bears don't is a very capable offensive coordinator who can exploit what... I mean, the Ravens and the Chargers very quickly found our kryptonite. They found the matchups. They found what they had to do to beat us. And, I mean, we helped the Ravens with an assist because we schemed wrong. But they've got very accomplished minds who are able to take advantage of you and will find the weak spots very quickly. Luke Getsy cannot do that. Luke Getsy is incapable of doing that because Luke Getsy wants to run his system because his system's so damn great. And no matter how much to the contrary will say otherwise, he will force it down your throat. He won't look at the mismatch opportunities on the field. He won't try and get creative with what he's doing. He will be him. And that's the big difference here between those two. You know, they've got a quarterback who can hurt you, but they don't have the minds to do it. Like that's the big thing for me. He's so predictable that we should be able to take advantage of it. And we did at Ford Field last year. We learned the lessons of Soldier Field because everyone was saying, "Oh my God, he's going to kill us again." And like I said, couple of big runs on the ground, big whoop. Who cares? Nobody. We won by 40 points nearly. They don't have the offensive mind, I think, to really take advantage of anything against us.
Just realised that I hadn't thanked Jeff Hurley for super chatting $10. So thank you, Jeff. You're the absolute best, man. Right, let's move on to the other side of the ball. Lions running offense versus the Bears running defense. And I mean, I would say that this is perhaps the side of our offense where there's a bit more of an even battle. The Bears have not given up a huge amount on the ground. And I mean, for me to start here, I would say I think that we have a big matchup advantage here. Mainly because I don't think their defensive line can handle our offensive line. If we want to do it in the run, I believe we will be able to do it in the run. But I don't think we will, because I think we'll decide to go in a different direction in this particular game. I think they'll see weaknesses elsewhere and perhaps just pretty much like everyone else, prefer to do it in the passing game. So I wouldn't actually expect to see lots of running yards. But we'll see. What do you guys think on this?
I mean, for me, you look at what the good teams have done against them, and right, yeah, the run defense has been good. But I watched the Chargers-Bears game because it was Thursday night football, if I remember rightly, and it was one of the primetime games. The Chargers realized very quickly they didn't have to run the football. Like, it wasn't that the Bears stopped them running the ball; it's that the Chargers just didn't bother running the ball. And a lot of teams have done that earlier, like in some of these big wins. It's all gone through the air. And then when you notice the teams they have beaten, it's one, yes, they can't run the football, but two, they don't have the quarterbacks. They've just not had the quarterback play out of it. You think back to, the Panthers, Bryce Young is going through it at the minute. That offense is not very good at this moment in time. Washington, that was when Howell was still a bit green and it wasn't quite clicking. It has clicked with them now. You got a quarterback who can sling the ball. It's great, but I think the best thing about us, even if they want to stop us running the ball, I think you just smash through. And then that causes a problem for them because what they do is they stack the box. They trust their corners and their safeties. Like, they trust them on an island to do the work, and they'll stack the box so the teams can't run it on them. We can. And I would trust our offense to run it on just about anybody at this moment in time. And it goes back to how technically elite they are at this moment in time. They're just executing plays at a different level. They are just completely, absolutely dominating teams on the line of scrimmage. And I don't see anything from that Bears line that makes me think that we're going to struggle against that. And then that'll be a problem for the Bears, because then they do have to try and stop the run, or they do have to throw more of that. And then Goff is just going to slice them to bits. I mean, I think we set up really well against them here. And we've got two different types of rushers. Like, Monty will just power it through the middle and just go straight through them. Gibbs can do that, but he can also get outside the tackles. It's so varied. It's so multifaceted, our attack. And the Bears won't have seen much like it this year. And I don't think they'll be able to deal with it this year.
I could almost see, and I hate bringing this up because I know it's a bit of a sore game for Ant because it cost him a lot in terms of reputation, but I could see us almost having a Michigan-Penn State kind of game plan where the first half we just tear them apart for the air, and during half-time they adjust to protect their secondary, lighten up the box, and we just run, throw a pass, but it gets put down for DPI, so it doesn't count as a pass. Run. Just use that game plan.
If you want
30 successive runs, I believe it was.
I mean,
30.
If you want to ruin his reputation more, that run game, can we throw in triple option as well?
Oh.
Hey, I'd love to see the triple option in the NFL. If we triple option the Bears, that'd be like the ultimate teabag to them.
Oh, no.
Activate Hendon Hooker, have Monty and Gibbs in the backfield and run triple option.
Now even better. Go back to the 60s. Run the T formation where you have three running backs who just call simple plays.
We've got Rodrigo at fullback. We've got a brand new superback now.
Exactly. Totally was not inspired by me finally finishing Paper Lion, which is all about like the 60s Lions and a journalist being part of their training camp one season. Great read, by the way, if you haven't done it. But oh my God, just listen to how they did the play calls back then. How? How was it that simple?
Yeah, but that's the core concept about this whole matchup. It's our trenches are better and stronger and better coached. That means a lot. Like,
huge.
That's all you need.
Huge.
That is all you need. I mean, we did it last year, in fairness. I feel like we were good on the line of scrimmage against, apart from the D-line at Soldier Field. Outside of that, offense was good, and then both units were good at Ford Field. So, again, I just trust our coaching so much more to have them ready for this. And I can see a situation where maybe we do run it more times than throw it, and that's great for us. Kill the clock. Keep Justin on the sidelines. Keep them there. Put points down on them. Put them behind. Take them out of the game plan. And if it doesn't work, we can throw it on them. Doesn't even matter. We've got so many. We've got a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's what we have at the minute with Ben Johnson. They got a plan A, and then plan B is wing it, literally. Just throw the gun and hope that they get somewhere.
We haven't talked about the Lions passing offense versus the Bears passing defense strictly, although obviously we've touched on it a heck of a lot. But just very briefly before we talk about the keys to victory and the score prediction and then the rest of Sunday's games, what do you make about the Lions passing offense against this passing defense? I mean, you've alluded to the fact that you guys think that maybe we're going to run the ball a bit more, and so maybe the passing stats won't be there. And they've got some names in that DB room and in the linebacker room, you know, with Brisker and Jackson and Johnson and Stevenson and Gordon and TJ Edwards and all these guys. So when it comes to passing the ball on those with our guys and Goff back there, who do you think's better?
So why is that question? Exactly.
Us. I mean, the thing is now, J-Mo's settled. Like, you don't come up against J-Mo very often. He clears out the middle of the field. And, you know, we saw big instances of that against the Chargers, where even if it's not getting thrown to him, you know, they're having to put double coverage on there. And what do we have to exploit that? We've just got so many options down the middle of the field. So it's... The Bears have a lot of decisions to make against us. Do you stack up against the run? Do you trust a young DB, even like a Tyreek Stevenson? Do you trust him on JMO? Can he run that goddamn fast? No, he can't. Do you risk that? Because your pass rush ain't going to get to Goff. So you've got to risk
shifty,
that.
Isn't he? Gordon went in the first round as a shifty guy, didn't he?
You did. But, again, you're coming up against a guy who is... He's just so legitimately freakish as an athlete. That's the whole point of getting him. So what it gives to your offense, and they're starting to throw at him now. And when you do that, then you've got to take care of that. But there's just so many ways we can hurt the Bears. So the passing offense, I think it is ours if we choose to use it because of the types of receivers we have. I think we just have we are too multi-dimensional for what they're able to put up there. We can hit you downfield. We can hit you on the middle of the field. Hell, I would trust us to start throwing screens and bulldoze them that way because we've got very athletic guys in the line who can get out there and can throw screens like we did for Amon-Ra's. We've got misdirection. We've got speed. We've got everything. this is,
PFF's number one wide receiver in the NFL in Josh Reynolds when targeted, do you mean?
Yeah. That's what I mean. We've not had Josh. We're not even using Leaf right now. Like, this is the depth of everything we have.
And DPJ's coming in this year, game as well.
This year, I hope so. That'd be a long time not to.
Yeah, sorry.
But this is what I mean. We have so much at our disposal. We've only just seen the surface of it scratched. So, of course, we have the advantage here. Because if something doesn't work, we can go to somewhere else.
Exactly. And I know 40 times don't mean everything in terms of speed, but if Tyreek Stevens, who has 4.45 second 40, can't keep up with JMO, there's no way Kyler Gordon with 4.52 can. So.
Oh, right. I thought he was shiftier.
Tyreek Stevenson's a speedy little fucker. It's just because he played a lot of zone coverage. He didn't have that many man coverage instincts, but. Gordon was a product of a good Washington secondary as well, so maybe it's a bit overdrafted. But yeah, our pass, it's just as Ant said, it's just going to be a mismatch.
Fair.
If you put the big guy on Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra's going to be open. You try and cover JMO deep, everyone's going to be open. I'm not touching the screen game because I've seen in our plan document we have a question about the screen game later, so I'm not going to touch that. But
Laporta.
We just have
We've not even talked about Laporta. Like
exactly,
what he can do.
Laporta. Yeah,
It's like
why are we
You've
not
got
talking
Courier.
about Brock Wright?
you've got
oh
Courier.
yeah, right, yeah. James Mitchell.
See, that's funny now because the second we line up in the jumbo package, they're thinking where the Brock Wright. Like,
Exactly, and that means we can sneak James Mitchell out, and he can score a touchdown.
But that's the thing. It's like, we can put the jumbo out there, and then they're like, oh God, what are they going to do? Because we could run it through them. But if they then have to sit a few yards back because they're worried about a tight end peeling off, that means we can run the ball on them. It's our
Creating
offense,
a no-win situation for them.
Yeah. And this is it. You're just going to keep putting them in positions where, and Goff is clever enough. He's more than clever enough. Like, the Monty run the other week was completely made up on the fly because he's playing at the top of his game right now. He will call the right play based on what he sees. The defensive coordinator is going to have a nightmare trying to match up against it. And we did it without half these guys last year. Like, offensive line was injured last year. We didn't have Laporta, we didn't have JMO, and we still wrecked them. And Ben's only getting better at his play calling.
So what you're saying is expect a lot of triple alert RPOs this week.
You know what? I've given up trying to figure out what he's going to do, and that for me, that's great. As long as it's not just run Adrian Peterson up the yard for two in the middle for 2 yards. I don't care. I'm just like a kid in a candy shop with what Ben does now. But actually, they're executing as well, which just makes it even harder when you're executing your plays to the highest level.
And this is all kind of feeding into the keys to victory. So for the Lions, when it comes to trying to win the game, schematically, what sort of things are you wanting to see? Changes the Lions make to... And I'm not talking big things. Ant very well said last time out that we got away from who we were in the losses that we've had, and we need to get back to who we are. But I think there are potentially specific things that we can do in this game which don't detract from what we are, but perhaps put a little bit more pressure on them, on offense and defense, to have limited routes to win this game. So what changes, if any, would you like to see to win this game?
Match zone. I'm not calling for full man because that'll put us at a disadvantage against Fields. Because if you play man against him, he will just do his scrambling thing and get some yards. But if you play match zone, so at least everyone's got their eyes on him at least. But you still have that ability to track receivers. So if they go across the formation, you can still follow them. Because that was the big problem last week was they just kept putting Keenan Allen on motion every single bloody play and getting him lined up against Kirby Joseph or Jack Campbell, where it's just a mismatch. If we could just do something to minimize that while still keeping our eyes on Fields, we can pretty much shut down their offense. Their offense and on defense, it's beating their defense. It's just as we said, force them to choose to defend one thing and just hit them with the other. Make it a no-win game for them where they try and stack the box. We throw over their heads. They try and protect their secondary. We just run it up the gut for 5-6 yards. It's pretty. I think it's actually one of the simplest game plans of the year for us in terms of both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we're better. Dominate. Like Dan says, go out there. You're bigger. You're faster. You're stronger. You've got better quality on there, and that's what you've got to do this week. Just don't let them drag you into a street fight. That is what this Bears team will do. They will try and run the ball a lot of the time, try and extend drives, try and keep our offense off the field. And then when you're on defense, they'll try and get at you early. They'll be aggressive. They'll try and get you into, they'll try and throw you off what you do. So, you've got to be you. This is against Chargers on offense. Be you. We ran the football on the Chargers for nearly 200 yards on the first half. That's who we are. We are the team that dominates on the line and sets the tone and gets in front. That is who we are. And this is what we need to do against the Bears. Just keep things fresh. Don't fall into some sort of stagnant routine where you're doing the same stuff. Just keep throwing different looks at them because you will have success against them. And then just turn the screw when they're down. Because we are a much better team than what they are. And we are playing as a team, which they are not. So just don't let them drag you down to their level. And Aaron Glenn, for the love of God, just be you. Be stout against the run. And then everything else will fall into place because Justin throws picks. He makes mistakes. Best way to get him to do that is to have him in unfavorable situations. And the best way to do that is stop the run, not lighten the box and worry about him and give them a chance, because that is how they will get into this game. So just do not do what you did against the Ravens, for the love of God, and you'll be fine.
Myself, I would like to see a much higher proportion of cover 0. I want the extra defender in the box. I don't believe Fields has it in him to complete multiple big passes down the field. They have DJ Moore, I don't care. Just go cover 0, put that person in the box, bottle up Fields, force him to throw. Because I think we'll win the game if we do that. On offense, pass the ball a lot. Keep passing it, keep putting them under stress, progress the ball, leave them breathless, because I just don't think they'll be able to hang with our team. Amon-Ra could go for 150 in this game. Like, I think it could be an absolute tear for him, because I don't think there's anyone in their team that can match up with him. But I believe in all the guys that Ant was talking about in terms of, Reynolds not being utilised as much as he could be, and Raymond, and DPJ's coming in, and JMO could have a breakout game, and Gibbs is coming to light in the passing game, and Monty's got breakaway stuff as well. Like, Monty in the passing game's been even a bit of a disappointment. Like, it's not really been there, and he definitely can do it. So, like, you've got all these weapons in the passing game. It's going to put them under such stress, and their D-line isn't going to put Goff under any pressure. So why not let Goff sit back there and just pick them apart? Because in Scramble Drill, we're just so much better than they are anyway. So even if it isn't designed, I anticipate us having enough time to make all of that work.
I want Monty to run for 150. All those Bears fans who, after 4 years of great service to them, said he was mid-running back who's just like not in, but they're like, well, okay, yeah, let's see how you think about him when he's running behind our line. Like, that is the one thing I want more than anything this weekend, is Monty to get to a $150 plus and just really rub it in their faces, because there's no way anyone on their team is as good as what Monty is, no matter how much they try and tell themselves otherwise.
All right, let's talk score prediction, and then we're going to talk about the rest of Sunday's slate. So what do you guys think? Ash, come to you first.
I predicted 34 points last week, and it was a bit low. But I'm staying there this week. But I'm predicting the Bears only score 14, so we have a 20-point victory.
And
52-13. I've said a lot of teams this year, I don't fear them, but I respect them. I don't fear the Bears. I don't respect the Bears. I just don't think they're a good team, and I think we're just in every way, shape, or form better. We're on our patch. The quarterback's coming back off injury. Take the run away, and they're just sitting ducks who we're going to tee off on. And I think they will want to put out a message to them this week. So I just think our offense is going to kill them so many different ways, put up points, and I think they're going to struggle to keep up, and then they're going to start turning it over, trying to get back in the game. I think we're going to absolutely annihilate them.
Well, you've predicted a 39-point victory, so I bloody well hope so. Jesus Christ.
Biggest one I've ever done, by some distance.
Yeah, I believe you. Oh my God. That's genuinely shocked me. I'm stunned. Okay.
I mean, what was last year? 47-7? Was it? It was 40 points last year. Ish.
Okay.
The reason we can't do it, we're better than we were then as well. So
yeah. I am going to predict the same scoreline I predicted last week, which is 38-20. And when we hit the field goal, I was like, we're on 38 now. But never mind. Yeah, I just think that the Lions have a very frustrating habit, which is absolutely fine because it slows the clock down, of giving up garbage time points. And I can absolutely see this game being 38-6 with 5 minutes remaining, and the Bears tear off like 2 big drives with 5 minutes to go to score points. And it comes back to that. But I can see massive lead until late, where they kind of peg us back a bit. All right. Rest of Sunday's slate, starting off with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, which is going to be interesting given Deshaun Watson's out. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. And with the Bengals maybe dropping out of playoff contention now Joe Burrow is done for the year, that game takes a new importance, because Pittsburgh, if they win, will be the 2nd seed in the AFC.
And don't they have some kind of horrendous points differential or some stat like they've been behind in so much of their games this
No,
year?
they've been outgained in yards in every game
In
this
every game.
season. Oh, it was in every game. I'm not sure it was in the Green Bay game, but yeah.
I mean, that's embarrassing if they were outdone by Green Bay. But I thought that was a stat that went up to this. Let me have a look. 324 for Pittsburgh, 399 for Green Bay.
Yeah, they got a lot of yards.
The Steelers currently, their net points is -26. They're like 3 games over 500. So literally the gap between them and 500 is 3 games. Yet they're -26 in points differential. They are the Vikings of last year this year.
But the difference in Pittsburgh and Vikings is that Pittsburgh make all of it happen through defense rather than offense. They're a bend don't break defense who are frisky and get takeaways, so they can see lots of yards and not many points. And the thing is, I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think that they'll allow teams to get into field goal range and not give up touchdowns. And then what do you do against that? You should be able to not let Pickett score too much, but never mind.
They had 205 yards on the ground against Green Bay. How do you give up that?
Yeah, and the Steelers defense right now, according to scoring defense, is the third worst. Is the third in the division. They're the second worst. Only the Bengals let them more points. They're at 282. The Ravens are giving up 177, and then the Browns have only given up 170. So they're still the third. They're the second worst defense in that division.
Yeah,
so it's just a massive mess.
Moving on to the Chargers at Green Bay. That's going to be an interesting game because, the Packers are not good, but the Chargers definitely have their vulnerabilities, as we showed.
But they can't exploit them.
If they lose to Green Bay, he's got to be on the hot seat, surely.
Staley will be gone.
Staley.
Yeah, if they lose to Green Bay, given how they're playing this year, you've got to be very close at this point to just canning him, and all our worst nightmares may be coming to fruition.
Well, the thing is, 10 wins may not be enough in the AFC, and they're 4-5. They've got to start winning games, or they're going to run out of time.
Justin Herbert, you are a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah.
The AFC is going to be crazy if the Bills fall out, the Chargers fall out, the Bengals fall out. It's you're going to see a lot of names in there. You're what the hell are they doing?
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing the Jags be the 6 seed facing the 3 seed in the wildcard round, because that's going to be just awful.
The Jets or something like that.
No, I think it might well be Jags at Houston, as you just alluded to. I think that could be the wildcard matchup. Anyway, I digress. Raiders at Miami. Blowout. Raiders being a bit frisky, but Miami
That feels like a game the Dolphins could screw up, though.
Yeah.
But imagine that. The Dolphins can't be good teams, can they? So, yeah, they should win this.
Giants at Washington. If Washington can't win that.
If Terry McLaurin cannot get a few good points against the Giants, he's getting canned from my team. I'd just go stick him on waivers in fantasy. I'm done with you, Terry.
Is this our roll the lines freely? Because if you do, please do that. I need a receiver right now.
It's I will can his ass if he can't get points against the Giants. But it's Sam Howell's throwing 300 yards each week. Oh yeah, nothing to Terry. But I'm ready
Brian
to
Robinson, please.
Yeah, I am ready to. You see that thing is it Brian Robinson, the Washington one? He's running back 4 in fantasy.
Yeah, one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's ridiculous.
So it's that joke going around that people who accidentally drafted him as opposed to Bijan are the luckiest people alive because they've got what they thought Bijan was going to be. It's just the wrong B Robinson that they picked. But it's going to be.
Yeah, the key was the big W as opposed to the blooming red bird, but never mind.
Commanders and Giants could be sickos game of the week.
Definitely a sickos game of the week, but trap game of the week for me is Cowboys at Panthers. I just have a sneaking suspicion this is the sort of game the Cowboys are just going to take for granted like they did with the Cardinals.
Nah, because that Cowboys pass rush and Bryce Young just hold on to the ball too long. I know we said earlier about the Bears pass rush. They got 3 of their 13 sacks this season against the Panthers, which means before that Panthers game, they were on 10 sacks in 9 games. That's shoddy production.
I feel like Bills Jets is the trap game this week. I think Jets can do it again. Like the Bills look bad.
Yeah.
Brees Hall is a 150-yard game incoming.
I would put the over/under for turnovers in that game at about 8.
I don't even think it's a trap game.
On it.
I don't even think it's a trap game. I think the Jets should win.
Possibly.
But Buffalo just aren't scoring enough points and are too iffy on offense. And the defense is the worst in the NFL, and it is historically bad now. It's getting into Lions start of last season territory. It's not good.
At the start of this year territory.
So this could potentially be a very good week for us. Because, I mean, the Eagles have to play the Chiefs. Like, I'm guessing we're all rooting for the Chiefs there for seeding purposes.
Yes.
And plus, it makes our win against them look even better if they beat them. But
yeah.
And then what? The 49ers are they the Bucks? I think
49ers are.
I mean, that's not. Oh, they're at home, but it's still not a gimme against that Bucks. That Bucks team is scrappy and hardy. So there could be something there. The Cowboys may win, but I mean, it could be.
Seattle's at LA as well, and Stafford's just come back.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's Seattle really bad in LA usually.
Yes, they
are.
Or
am I getting it the wrong way? They're usually not good against them.
They have an awful record in LA and in San Francisco.
So, I mean, we could be scrapping with the Cowboys for the 1 seed when this weekend's done.
No, Cowboys are 2 games back from Philly.
Yeah, it's Philly.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, it's Philly.
And Philly have the tiebreaker, although they've still got to play each other again. But they play each other again next week.
Oh, they'll have the strength of schedule tiebreaker on us, won't they? But we'll be the 2 seed.
We'll be nice. We'll see. Philly have still got to run the gauntlet. They've got 5 hard games in a row. So we'll see. Other games we haven't mentioned: Arizona at Houston.
Come on, Stroud.
You know what? I love watching the Texans. I say this every week now at this point, but I do love watching the Texans. They are a good team getting built the right way. Like young players who they're building. You got Will Anderson on your defense, like he's the blue chip guy you're going to build around. CJ Stroud's going to be quarterback you're going to build around, and you're giving them some nice weapons, and you're discovering a lot of talent from nowhere. I mean, like, I don't know who Noah Brown is. Dude's had 250-yard games as a receiver. Like, kudos. What he's doing with the guys there.
I hope that, the offensive coordinator, Bobby Slonik, he is right now in my head the guy that if I was the Bears ownership, he's the guy I'd be targeting as their new head coach.
But they just look so good as a team. I just enjoy they're the team I enjoy to watch most, other than us this year, I think. Because there's always a team I'll gravitate towards.
That was the Bengals for me this year.
Yeah.
They've just been so hit and miss. Burrow's just never been healthy, and it's just, you feel like we've just not seen that team as good as it can be because he's just never really been that healthy, and it's a shame, really. Like, that
he had a 3-game stretch where he was fully healthy and he looked like he was back to his old self again, and then that was it for the year. Done. Like, it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, Vikings are at Broncos, aren't
that's
they?
what I was just about to say. That is definitely penciled in. It's Sunday Night Football, isn't it? But I'm excited about that game because finally Russell Wilson looks like he's getting back to a bit of form. That Denver defense looks shit hot. And the Vikings, Josh Dobbs is a great story. Everyone's rooting for him in a sort of unbiased, he's not playing for Minnesota, cover my eyes sort of way. But it's a shit team playing against a team that's up and coming now in this season. Denver, I had them making the playoffs comfortably in my playoff predictor. Like, the way they're going right now, I think they could cakewalk it into the 6th seed in the AFC. So,
see, Denver are one of those teams, every time I want them to do something for me, they don't do it. And I want a cushion over the Vikings. Like, I feel uncomfortable with the Vikings being 1 game behind just because. So this week it's like, I don't mind. I will happily let the Broncos win this week, and they'll just turn around and give me the finger and be like, actually, we'll screw it up against Josh Dobbs, and his Renaissance story continues. And I mean, at what point, if they do theoretically keep winning, do they have to start thinking about him as franchise guy of the future? Because a time will come, if he carries on playing this well, that they will have to consider it. Like, he's done it at 2 teams now, like, there's
new. There's nothing wrong with giving Dobbs a 1-year $10-15 million contract
prove
just to
it.
say...
Give him
That
the
it's-
Geno contract.
No, that's way too much. I mean, that was...
But no, like
no,
scaled
the
down. But
first
you know how
one
the Geno
wasn't it?
you
Yeah.
know how Geno's was scaled, where he had yes, I think it's about like it was like 35-40 million, but quite a lot of it was weighed in the first year.
Yeah.
So he's like a prove it kind of thing. And if he doesn't prove it, then you can cut him, no problem, and get a new guy in. It was just in Seattle. Geno came and proved it, so you gave him a big extension.
I'd give him the Jordan Love contract. 2 years, 28 or whatever that was. Like, do that. That's much better. Like, with Geno, with that deal, yeah, you're front loading it and it's cuttable and whatever, but it was still like you're putting 35, 40, $45 million on that first year. And it's like, Dobbs ain't worth that. In no way.
I said scale down. It was like that sort of like that kind of contract.
10 to 15.
10 to 15, but it's all
Tops.
like front loaded.
But yeah, I mean, it depends whether he crashes down to earth, doesn't it? And
Which I'm
facing a
predicting.
Denver team who've conceded 17, 9, and 22 against the Packers, Chiefs, and Bills in a row. Like, Denver to win comfortably.
The only thing that can maybe swing it to being close, because I know Justin Jefferson's been listed as questionable on this week's injury report for the Vikings. If he comes back, that would make it a lot closer in my mind, because he's just that good, isn't he?
He played last week, didn't he?
I don't think he did. I think he came back to practice last week. But
We know the Broncos have a Mr. Hyde to their Dr. Jekyll, though. Like, they can be just as bad as they are good.
Yeah.
And they're at home, and they usually save their worst performances for Mile High, weirdly enough.
True.
So,
see, I just really want to watch Justin Jefferson versus Pat Surtain. Well, in the morning when I'm on the way to work, because I'm not staying up for that, but I just want to watch that.
And it's not Kirko Chains in prime time, so
Right.
that curse has gone.
All right, we have a couple of questions, and if there's any more questions in the chat, please get them in now, and we're going to take them off the air. But we're going to sign off on the audio show now. So, our next show is coming up straight after this one. It's a live showing of the college football podcast, which was recorded earlier on in the week, had 30 minutes live, which people may have seen, but then there were some difficulties. It's been re-uploaded. So, once we finish chatting on the stream, that'll be live for everyone to watch on there. Next show after that is going to be the live reaction show for the Bears game on Sunday. Ash, you on?
Yep.
So me and Ash on the call for that one, and then the review show coming up on Monday before a very busy week next week for Thanksgiving, which we need to work out and see if we've actually got anyone on to do shows. Thanksgiving week, I've got everything planned. We've spent like £100 or so to do Thanksgiving dinner just for me and Sarah. So it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. Got the turkey crown in. We're going to do the sweet potato with the marshmallows baked on top and all the sorts of stuff. I'm going to be buzzing for the show. I'm going to want to go to sleep and not watch the game. But I think that's what Thanksgiving is meant to be all about, to be honest. So we're going to have a review show on Monday for the Bears. We're going to have a preview show before Thursday, the Thursday game, and a review show all next week, as well as the college football podcast. So I don't know how we're going to fit that all in, but we're going to do our best. College football obviously is happening this weekend, so that is week 12. The review has to happen for that. And, we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it now. There's 6 5-5 teams all playing each other, so lots of bowl eligibility is going to happen this Saturday, so keep your eyes and ears out for that. You can follow us on our socials on Royal Lines UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group on Facebook for Worldwide Fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. You can follow us on our website, ROTLUK.com, where Ash's preview article is coming out tomorrow, so check that out then. Otherwise, just remains for me to thank my co-hosts, to Ant and Ash. Thank you for being here with me doing this. I'm Matthew Turner, and we'll see you next time. But for now, let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Firstly, to the Gomness on Twitch, happy birthday for Thanksgiving on your 50th. Many happy returns. Hope you have a great day. And you have a question as well, which I thought was quite interesting. I think the answer is straightforward, but they're both horrible. Would you rather defend David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs on a screenplay?
See, because I've seen it, I've had a time to think, and I'm going to make the answer a lot more complicated than I need to. It depends on the situation for me. If it's a 1st and 10, Gibbs. But if it's a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, it's Montgomery, because Montgomery, when he needs to get those yards, he's going to keep those legs a churning and he's going to get those yards. But if it's just a standard 1st and 10, you're running a screen, it's Gibbs because he just has that big playability.
I'd rather face Gibbs because he'll run around me. Montgomery will run through me and end me. So I'm taking the self-preservation route here.
Mood.
I can't catch Gibbs up when he's running outside. I just there's no way I get near him. Money will just be like, hey, bang.
I mean, I'm comfortably heavier than both of them, so I don't care. But I
You fucking will when he hits you.
Exactly.
As a rugby player for the majority of my life, I would back myself to take Montgomery down. But Gibbs, I won't catch. I'm just not fast enough.
We need to set this up when we go over to Detroit. If Dave Montgomery, if you're listening, can we set this up so we can get you on
Got your number.
Oklahoma drill?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can do that, Ash. We'll film it. There's no way in hell I'm letting him run at me.
I mean, I'll be taking him down at his ankles. He won't have seen the like. Because NFL players will tackle at the bloody waist or higher. You know, I'll be taking him down effectively. There won't be any missed tackles where I'm at, but I won't be getting any forced turnovers either. So
I mean, are we allowed to have a weapon or something like that? Can we use
can we use a lead pipe? Up with my sword.
It's like a lead pipe or something like that, or
a wrench.
Something.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
If you can dodge a ball, you can fix a Mark 32 helicopter.
Oh no! Oh,
I was born in Newcastle, but I was made in the Navy.
In Blythe.
Oh, yes, Blythe, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh God! And no one watching knows that reference, which is great. It's the Army recruitment advert over here. Or is it Army?
Navy. It's Navy.
Fair enough. There we go.
To be fair, the people watching doesn't get that reference. So about 95 of the references I make on stream.
Oh, it's a shame there's no football on tonight. Is there any college on tonight?
There is Colorado Wazoo. And there's another, is it UT? It's UCF, isn't it?
Oh, shit. I best get in everybody's.
Oh, I was about to ask if you've got mine. I sent it on Discord earlier, I think.
Oh, God, what time does it start? Oh, it's like 3 in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, 3:30. And it's UTSA at 2 a.m. Do I stay up and watch a bit of UTSA?
Well, he's still there as coach, is he?
For now, yes. I think he's my nailed-on favourite for the job because he's just got a lot of connections down there.
Well, yeah, he's just got to hop over. I mean, they're very close together, San Antonio and Austin.
I mean, I'd still have.
I'd
have Elko and then Trailer in that order. Elko was DC there before he left for Duke. So
where is he
turned down the shitter?
He's managed a Power 5 program, and he's done well on a Power 5 program. So
and it's losing all its talent with Riley Leonard and that going this year.
So I'd have Elko and then Trailer in that order. They would do very well to get Mike Elko at Texas A&M.
I just realised I misspoke when I said Austin because, of course, it's Texas University that's in Austin, whereas A&M...
San Antonio. UTSA is San Antonio.
UTSA is San Antonio, but it's College Station A&M, which is in between Austin and Houston. I thought it was a short hop, and it's not too far in Texan terms, but it's still quite a way. It's like a 4-hour drive. I know because I've been briefly looking at doing a holiday to that area of the world. Land in Austin, spend some time in Austin, drive to Houston, spend some time there, then drive down to Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans before driving on back to Austin to fly home.
See, I'll do that last stretch, but from the other side. So I'm thinking of maybe when I'm a bit older, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, obviously. Then Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Chapel Hill. I want to go see UNC as well. I've got a couple of friends who.
Why would you go Jacksonville?
I know some people there.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
I might have some school leavers hoodies I need to go reclaim from someone that stole them from me 4 years ago and then broke my heart. Cough, cough.
Oh no. So I would love to go to Baton Rouge to go and watch LSU. Because that would just be fantastic, I think.
Listen to Brian Kelly do his bloody accent.
I don't know what y'all thinking over here, but I'm playing football. Sorry, that's my...
It was pretty... It's better than what I can do.
Yeah. There's something about Southern drawl which is just so nice, but when people try and fake it, it's like cancer of the ears.
All right, Brian Kelly.
There you go.
Brian Kelly did.
Yeah, that's who I was faking. That's what I was trying to do.
That was bad even for him.
Oh.
You mean the coach that talks about executing his players?
You've got to have like that. You've got to do one of those photo shoots now where they do the spin round with your arms folded and stuff like that. You got to get Sarah to do that. Stand there with your arms folded while she brings the camera around you and does it in the whirly circle.
I wonder if I can
get some retro lights on there.
If I buy a kind of hoverboardy style Hoover that you can program, I wonder if I could program it to just spin and then stand on it.
You can, like a Roomba and get it to do that.
And put some disco lights around it or something. That's going proper Brian Kelly.
Yeah. Kind of speaking on, did you hear about, obviously, I know you're not really too much into recruiting. Did you hear about like all the flips that Miami and Florida had this week? They literally had one for official. Or they had Florida had someone in for official visit this week. They did all those photos. He leaves the visit and then commits to Auburn literally like 2 hours after leaving Gainesville.
Yeah.
The British American Southern accent impression is equivalent to the American British accent impression.
Agreed.
Yeah.
American accents of Brits are absolutely terrible.
I've heard
they
of a
get
few
us wrong so badly.
There's a few who can do it very, very well, but the majority of them are trained fucking actors who do that for a living. And
so usually it's a reference to the Queen or it's a reference to like tea or something. It's very.
Sorry, mate. You've got a bottle of water.
Get creative. Get creative with your Britishisms. You know, like there are other things that we do. So
exactly. If you want to learn how to do a British accent, listen
to this pod.
Listen to this pod, or if you don't want to do it that way, British football chants. No better way of picking up the British accents than just listening to British football chants. Because the way you pick up the accents, you'll also learn how to chant, because I believe that We Can Win is one of the worst chants I've ever heard in my life.
That's why I absolutely refuse to say let's go. It's terrible. And it's the same thing again and again and again and again. Yeah. And it's so unimaginative. Exactly. You do it, Matt. You've picked it up and it's a bad habit you've picked up there. It's like...
The worst chant I've heard, the best American football chant I've heard is a cover of Vindaloo with the whole barbecue chant. And that's just a cover of one of our football chants made worse.
Yeah.
I quite like it. So many of those videos on TikTok where you see the difference in chants and you get that one guy in the microphone who goes, "Fight and win!" And you're like, what a douche. I think it's the Seattle Sounders, possibly.
Yeah, that is... The reason it's in my head is because that's literally what half my TikTok algorithm is right now. It's just Americans reacting to British football chants. And it's great because you get to the Adam Johnson chants and they're like, they can't be saying this can't be real. And I'm like, yeah, if you just give it a quick Google, we're calling him that because he actually did it. We're not just calling him a P word because it's funny.
Before we get to vulgar, can we just say hello to Iris, please, who is...
Hello, Iris.
Joshua Mercer's daughter, who's asking for a shout-out.
Hey, Iris.
Hello, Iris.
There we go. What about Adam Johnson? You're going down for nonsense, la, 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 la.
Nah.
Put it this way, it's just, I've forgotten what it's like to chant, because all I watch is American football now, and it's just the let's go chants all the time. I've actually forgotten how to chant at a British football.
I really want to come up with our own chant.
I used to be because like with Town, with us being sporting, we have all our own nice, unique chants and stuff like that. And I've kind of forgotten how I talk at those games now, because all I hear in my head is "let's go," and it's just like, oh, for God's sake, it's so annoying. It's the second most annoying thing in American football. The first bin, and I'm sorry, Ash, your goddamn band is the most annoying thing in this world
The war
for the
chant.
end of days. All
What?
Florida State can play is
Oh.
the goddamn tomahawk chant, and it is the most annoying, insufferable thing in the
That's
world
the point.
ever. And it's the only song they play. It
That's the whole
actively
point.
makes
It did
me...
feel like that in Michigan as well. They do play several songs, but the majority of the time it's the
Fight song.
See,
yeah.
What I'm looking forward to is in next week when Michigan absolutely smack Ohio State and do them. Second seed's Michigan, third seed's Florida State. And then I get my sick game where I get to watch those two destroy one another. Everybody, you know Ash there, when you play them in the playoffs, let him know. Let him know. But I'm that close to my sick dream becoming true now. So I'm like, I can't keep them both out. So put them both in, and I get to watch one of them be heartbroken, and some part of me can rejoice in that.
Hail to the victors. That's it. Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
And for what it's worth, Ash said that Florida State would win by 3 scores hands down and that Michigan sucks.
I did not
let him
say
know
that.
about
I did. I will bring up the Discord chat. I said it would be. I actually said when we discussed this that Michigan will probably be a 1-score favorite right now because we have got weaknesses. But come on. The scary thing for me is I'm scared we'll play Louisville in the ACC championship and we'll lose.
Hey, the best part is that Ash looks like a fish next to me, so I can use the fish it's below me on the screen.
Oh, I'm above you on my screen, and you're above. I'm above you on the. You're actually reeling in Matt on the screen because the way it's set up, I'm in the top left corner, Matt's top right, and you're in the bottom in the middle. So it looks like you're reeling in Matt for no reason.
I'm just wondering whether to a traditional British chant we can change the words to some sort of Detroit themed thing.
Oh, well.
Build a bonfire, put the Packers on the top, put the Bears right in the middle, and burn the fucking lot. There we go. That is a line.
I mean, well, me and you, our clubs both share a chant. Admittedly, we stole it from you, and then you stole it from Marseille, but we can use that.
You know what I want to do? I want to introduce the Poznan to Ford Field.
Oh, yes.
We got to introduce the Poznan to Ford Field.
My brother sent me, because he goes to all our home Conference League games, he sent me a video of the Warsaw fans doing the Poznan in the away section against us. It's great.
I'm just wondering if I can adapt Anfield Road to a Detroit song. All round the fields of Tolan Park, where we once watched the King Barry play, and could he play?
You know what song we could adapt, which you'd absolutely love? Like the Liverpool Darwin Nunes. You can do that one with one of our players. Yeah. The most annoying chant in the world ever.
Still in your mind. Still in your head, isn't it?
We should get that guy that guy do chants. We should commission him to do
one.
Oh God,
yeah, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
We should commission him to do a chant for us.
Oh, I hate him. I can't stand him.
I'd love to see Ford Field doing the Poznan though. That would be a great thing. So in fact, someone's mentioned it in the chat. They mentioned wrestling. American wrestling chants are much better. Their crowds get creative with
oh yeah. It's a similar sort of crowd. It attracts a similar sort of person.
Yeah, people who love to chant obscenities and all sorts of funny stuff. I love wrestling crowds.
Mike's saying if you guys replace Forward Down the Field, I would be thrilled. I don't hate Forward Down the Field. I hate it's the only song where there's any invention whatsoever.
You've got to have about 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Like that's just for the record. You've got to have about 10 or 15 good chants, not one. And certainly not Let's Go all the time. That is...
I mean, Liverpool have specific songs only for European games. Like, you've got to be inventive with this sort of thing. I thought I'd just bring it up.
I'd say Villa are having to invent those, aren't they? It's been that long.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You know what I said.
How are they doing this year in Europe?
We're actually doing okay. We're top of our group right now. 2 wins and a loss.
And you're games. 5th, right, in the Premier League? 6th.
Yep.
I didn't say out about the Premier League.
5th, but with 3 points off top because we could have been 2nd if we didn't bloody lose to Forest.
Liverpool playing Man City this coming weekend, next weekend as well, so we could go top.
Oh, who are we playing? I should know this. I'm a bad fan. We are playing. Oh, we've got Spurs.
That's okay.
They're
That's
bad now.
shit. Yeah.
They just lost to Wolves, so you're all right.
True, and we did beat them on New Year's Day at their own ground with a worse, with Robin Olsen in goal.
Mm. Hey, and Matt, you great thing. You get to watch Everton get relegated this year.
No.
we don't want that.
Fucking fair.
No, they're only 2
Oh,
points out of being safe.
Someone did the
be
maths
fine.
for Man City.
Get 1,900 points or something like
Yeah,
or
so
1,300 points.
So taking their points total from when the takeover happened and then doing the fair, so for every integration to lose 10 points, it would leave them with roughly about 5.8 points a season since the takeover.
Should be a relegation for every season under that.
I don't think we have to do anything special here. We just have to say you are no longer a member of the Football League. Sorry. Like,
do what happened to Juventus. Drop them down as far as you can and make them work their way back.
Rangers, yeah.
Juventus only went down one division and they came back quickly enough. Rangers is a great shout because they had to come up all the way through the divisions. The team I think of most when it comes to all of this is a team I loved as a kid, which is Parma.
Oh yeah, because
they got relegated because of administration and financial irregularities. They went from Serie A, they got relegated from Serie A that season. So they were in Serie B, they got relegated to Serie D, and they've never recovered. Yeah. And they had Buffon just leave them before that to go to Juve.
To try and raise some money, exactly.
Yeah,
and then
it was sad. There's such a good team, and I love Parma. Such a good side. Anyway, never mind. Why did we get onto football? Can we come up with a football style chant for American football for Lions?
I'm trying to think. The thing is,
it can be homework. We can come back next week with our homework.
Now I've just got Darwin Núñez in my head, you twat.
I've got Super John McGinn in my head. We've got McGinn.
I'm hungry and I need food, so...
Yeah, that's fair. Right, with that, we're going to leave.
Oh, God, it's 1 a.m.
It is 1 a.m. Guys, have a great weekend. I'm going to set up the premiere for the college show right now, so stick around. You're going to see another video. We'll see you for the game on Sunday. Thanks for sticking with us. Bye for now.
Au revoir.
Bye.